Or do you say in your answer, I did something, but it was consensual?
Right.
And he took the second route.
Right.
He said, here's what we did. Here's when we did it. In other words, he agrees with her that they had an encounter, that they met at his apartment, that it was in Provo, and the date, time, and place she indicated, and even admits some of the physical contact that occurred, maybe all of it, but says it was all consensual, and
Right.
and I can prove it. And he goes through a number of things that were really compelling. As I read his answer, I thought, this complaint is falling on its head in a hurry. I didn't
Wow.
realize it was this big of a hurry because she's dismissed it,
Wow.
filed a motion. I mean, it's just a matter of the judge signing it. Motion to dismiss just this morning.
So let's talk a little bit about the honor code. So that's another, I think, aspect of this story, right? Is BYU has all of their students and their faculty actually have to agree to abide by the honor code, and that includes no sexual relationships outside of marriage. So he just admitted he violated the honor code. There's some pretty stiff penalties potentially for that, and I know BYU was starting to talk about what some of those might be.
And he was talking about what he might do, and that's another angle to this, Holly. But so the school can do anything from suspending him for a game or two or three, or kicking him off the team and taking a scholarship away. They haven't said what they'll do, and frankly, I mean, the conduct isn't. I mean, I don't want to say egregious or not. I mean, it is what it is. You know, college kids in America do what they do, and it's hard to find it particularly egregious from the civil end or from the criminal end. But from an honor code violation,
Right.
it's a straight up violation of what the honor code requires.
Right.
And a student athlete at the university, and even students in general, sign an agreement. They're bound by the agreement, and the honor code is what it is. You know, this one puts the school and the team in an awkward position, you just have to be honest about it, because he's a great star. I mean, he's this team is
Right.
on its way to something huge this year if he's at the helm. They had a great season last year. They're destined to be even better this year. Who knows? They could be a top 10 team in the country this year, especially with him.
Right, but the honor code. So I actually have degrees from 4 universities in Utah. BYU is one of them. If you don't want to abide by the honor code, don't go to BYU. And one of the things that I saw over the weekend was Senator Todd Weiler said there are 260 other schools he could have chosen to go to that have college football teams, but he chose to come to BYU and sign that honor code, right? And so I think some people want to know, are there special carve-outs for elite athletes? They don't have to follow the honor code, or does it actually apply to everyone?
No.
And I think the school, I think
That's a
the
great
school is
question.
clear, right? It has to apply to everybody.
Yeah, no. I understand what you're saying. I guess I'm just the
No.
the football fan in me, and I'm a Utah guy, but I follow BYU football. I want them to do very well. There isn't a carve out.
Right.
But there's a cutout. I mean, what does a violation of the honor code mean? I think there's some wiggle room, and maybe that's not the right word. But so can he be suspended for a game or 2 or 3 or 4?
Well, my understanding is they were talking about a 7-game suspension
Right.
for him, which is how many games are in a season? 11?
Probably 11 or 12.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's most of the season. So that would have torpedoed that. But look, there certainly are rumors, and I'm not a diehard football fan, but I certainly do follow BYU football in this situation, especially. I don't think that there's any outcome that doesn't result in him not playing for BYU next season.
Right.
I mean, I just think that from day one, that was going to be the outcome.
Yeah, so I looked at the NCAA rules as it relates to students being able to transfer to another university, because there's some talk that he has had with other students on the team that he's just going to transfer.
Right.
And the NCAA allows for a one-time transfer, in other words, sort of for any reason you want. And it's important because I read it closely. It seems to indicate that the transfer can be immediate. In other words, he doesn't have to take a year off.
Right.
You lose a year of
Right.
eligibility.
He doesn't have to redshirt.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
Or lose any eligibility. So if he wanted to play for, say, Notre Dame next Thursday, according to the rules I'm looking at, the NC2A rules for student athletes, he could do that. That might be the easier thing for him to do. And did you say 286 schools? There are
260.
Yeah, 260 schools that take him tomorrow.
Right.
I mean, even if you have the
Right.
second best quarterback in the country. I mean,
Right.
you're going to take Jake Retzlaff.
Right.
He's a star. He's going to do well. He's probably going to be looked at in the the NFL next year. I mean, he could do anything he wants. 7-game suspension is half the season.
Yeah.
Let's face it. It really messes him up. And I don't remember what year he is right now, if he's a junior or senior. But if he's at that level, he may put his name in for the draft anyway at the end of the season, no matter how
I think he
far.
might be a senior.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was some interesting things about this lawsuit. It's alleged to have occurred in November of 23. She files it, like I said, in June of 25. In the 23 season, BYU goes 4-6, and then they don't have a great year.
Right.
And there's no lawsuit filed. Last year they go 11-2. They get a bowl game. He's the starting quarterback. He's the person. And so in his answer, he even sort of goes through that and says, the only reason this case was even filed is because suddenly I'm a star in the making, and there's a pot of gold at the end here. And he says that there's a reason why she filed this at the time she did.
I don't love the blame the victim mentality part of that lawsuit, but it sounds like it's a moot point now.
Right, and I guess the blame the victim had some impact. When we come back after the break, well, that was breaking news, and we got it just minutes before the courts open this morning. We're going to go back to the big, beautiful bill. We've talked about this for 3 weeks now, Holly, but there are developments on that as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
In Box Elder County, they're all about the bucket list. Want to go birding at the premier birding destination in the western United States? Well, check off the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. How about land art? The spiral jetty and sun tunnels will leave you inspired. Or stand on the spot where the Union and Central Pacific Railroads joined and forged the destiny of a nation. Yep, Golden Spike National Historical Park is like no other place. Check. Splash, boat, camp, or fish your day away? Willard Bay State Park will guarantee a good time. Soak in a natural hot spring with the highest mineral content in the world? That would be Crystal Hot Springs. You'll feel rejuvenated. Eat at Utah's original steakhouse. Maddox Ranch House is perfection. Check. A 1920s diner. The Idle Owl Cafe will transport you back in time. As you empty your Box Elder County bucket list, you'll find a whole new set of adventures to fill it up again. Fill up your bucket list at visitboxeldercounty.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway, because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Boo-hoo-hoo.
Jason, why are you crying?
I just saw a house with a "We Got New Windows" sign in their yard.
Well, why does that make you cry?
Because they spent twice as much as they needed to for high-quality windows.
Window World offers amazing windows for way less than the other guys.
And we don't play pricing games with phony discounts.
At Window World, we treat every customer like family.
Call Window World today at 281-8111 for a no-pressure, no-hassle quote.
Window World, simply the best. And as Doug always said,
That's no baloney.
Hey, summer's here and only getting hotter. Better save now on a new day and night heat pump and air conditioning system.
Keep cool with a new day and night heat pump and air conditioning system surpassing the new federal standards. It's easy, eco-friendly, and affordable. For example, select a low-interest financing plan on approved systems and combine that with tax credits of up to $2,000. Go to dayandnightcomfort.com for a day and night elite dealer near you. The difference is day and night.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
And expanded Inside Sources.
So we've been talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill for a while. We've been on the show for 3 full weeks, and we've talked about it, I think, the whole time. So President Donald Trump requested that he have a bill on his desk by July 4th, which is Friday, and the Senate is scrambling to get that bill to a place where they can actually get it passed and get it on the president's desk, which means they were working all weekend. One of the big changes that happened over the weekend was Utah Senator Mike Lee, who pulled his controversial proposal to sell off some public land to use for affordable housing. One of the things that happened with that is it encountered what they're calling the bird bath, and it's BYRD, right? And that's a process where the parliamentarian in the Senate it goes through a process where they look at, does this bill meet the budget reconciliation guidelines to not include anything extra in that bill?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Byrd Rule, named after Senator Robert Byrd. It limits the content of budget reconciliation bills, and it's something that the Senate parliamentarian can
right.
use
Yep.
to I guess alter or take certain parts of a bill out of the bill. I mean, as I understand it, it's
right.
really something we haven't really seen that happen before, Holly. At least I'm not aware of that. I'm sure it does.
It does. But this is what the result is. So if you have this tighter bill, I mean, this current bill is 940 pages, but if you have this tighter bill, then you can pass with a simple majority. If not, you have to go to the 2/3 majority, which is basically 60 votes. It's not quite 2/3,
right.
But you have to go to 60 votes, and you have to leave the filibuster open. If you do this reconciliation, then you can do 50 plus 1, right? But you don't. The filibuster rule doesn't apply.
Yeah, and so let's face it, they're not going to get 60 votes. If anything in this bill requires 60 votes, or for that matter, 53 votes.
Right.
It's just not going to happen because
yeah.
Democrats aren't going to cross the aisle on this one. And
right.
in fact, some Republicans are getting a little bit wishy-washy even as we get closer to the finish line. But this particular provision is going to put some part of the bill in jeopardy.
Yeah, and that's, again, that's one of the things that they're working on over the weekend. And we saw a number of other developments as well. So one of those was that Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska was a no on the bill, but then she negotiated with Senate leaders to say, if I can have a carve out for non-contiguous states, and how many are there?
2, right? Yeah.
2 states that
Alaska
are
and Hawaii.
non-contiguous. That's right. That they would have carve-outs for both Medicaid cuts and SNAP, which is the Supplemental Food Program. Then she could support the bill. So.
But I don't understand the logic of that, and you might not either. So what? I mean, you carve out. SNAP is. I think of SNAP as food stamps,
right?
Effectively, but
right.
But she says take Alaska and Hawaii out of this, and I might be able to sign up.
So what she's saying is take us out of the cuts that you're proposing. We
Right.
don't want to have the cuts impact us. Alaska and Hawaii both have a higher standard of living than a lot of cost of living, I guess, than a lot of other
Oh.
states. And so she's saying, look, this is going to detrimentally impact our citizens so much so that I can't support the bill.
Wow.
So she said, okay, make it so the cuts don't impact us. They agreed. She voted to push this forward. And then on the very next day, which was Sunday morning, the parliamentarian said this doesn't pass the bird rule.
Yeah, and you started this, Holly, by indicating that Mike Lee has pulled his controversial proposal to sell
right.
public lands out of this.
That's right.
Now, that was something we talked about
That's right.
repeatedly over the last
Yep.
several weeks.
Yep.
And he was getting some pushback from local senators,
Right.
those
Around Utah.
Utah,
Yep.
Idaho, and some of the others that were saying, wait a minute, and Montana was not included anywhere. They're like,
Right.
keep us away from this. But I thought he was, I thought at the start he had some momentum with that, but it's been chipped away, and I think if he finally decided there's no way I can do this.
So he actually had a couple of versions. The first version that he had in the bill didn't pass the bird rule, and so he pulled that out, reworked it, tried to get it more focused and meet the constraints that he felt like would pass the bird rule. But he just had growing opposition, and so one of the things that I've seen people quipping online is that he was able to unite all sides. So you had hunters, you had conservationists, you had Republicans, Democrats, people from the East Coast, people from the West, all saying we don't support this bill. We just
He was
can't
uniting
support
a
it.
lot of people against him.
He was
Right.
uniting a lot of people, but not in his favor.
Yeah, well, and maybe that was smart. Celeste Malloy actually had a sort of a tweak on that from the House
In the
side
House bill.
early on,
Mhm.
which didn't get much
Right.
traction either.
Right.
She didn't get very far with that, but it seems to be a theme. Let's face it, with some of our Utah delegation thinking our state has so much public land. The federal government needs some money. Maybe there's something we can do here with a sell-off.
It's a different perspective because for a long time the whole argument in Utah has been we're pro Utah managing the lands within our state, right? So we want to take the management away, but this year's the first time I've really heard representatives talking about selling some of this public land and then turning it into housing. I haven't heard that proposal before. It really has been let us manage the states in our own land.
And as it progressed, there were obviously national parks are not part of it. National monuments are not part of
Right.
it. National
The Forest Service, the forest lands were taken out.
So
yeah.
we're sort of down to BLM land, and and also I think he carved in, area that's sort of contiguous with
Right,
cities.
population centers, right.
Yeah.
So that was one of the arguments is, well, if you put affordable housing out in the middle of the boonies, how are you going to get there? All of those types of things. But I'm telling you, this was one of the, I think, I saw there was something like a letter sent to Senator Lee with 11,000 signatures from Utahns. I think they could get more if they had more time. But at whatever the reasons, he's pulled that portion of the bill, trying to get this onto the president's desk.
We are joined this morning by Adam Gardner, lobbyist here in Utah, former host of Inside Sources with me in the afternoons and KSL at night when we did that. Adam, thanks for joining us this morning.
Happy to be here.
It's nice to hear your voice. We miss you. You got to come to the studio.
No one's ever said they missed me before, so I'd love to come into the studio
We'd like
anytime.
to see your face. So talk to us about the One Big Beautiful Bill. Where are we right now? The Senate's prepared to vote maybe, or do you think that'll occur before the 4th of July as they had been told to do?
So they're going to start what's called a vote-a-rama. When you open up a reconciliation bill, anyone can offer an amendment for any reason to anything on the bill. That started at 9 a.m. this morning Eastern time, and it will go for exactly 24 hours.
Wow.
A lot of debate. Everyone has to stay up. It's actually really fun to watch if you don't have a life. And anyway, so that will happen. And then what will happen is a bunch of these amendments will get passed. And like they did under the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, after everything got passed, he stood up and he said, I'd like to make a substitute of the bill and just substitute the original bill. So no amendment got considered at all. That's how Democrats govern. That's how Republicans will most likely govern. So we're not going to see a ton of change, I think, in the bill. But you'll see a vote probably in the next day and a half.
So we'll see a vote on the bill, but today we're going to see a whole bunch of votes on a whole bunch of amendments.
That's right.
Is that right?
A whole bunch of amendments, and it's a special time when the Senate does their job and actually stays on the floor and debates different issues. It's actually really fun to watch.
It's a special time.
Any surprise, Adam, that Senator Lee pulled his public land portion out of the bill?
Well, I'm going to go a different direction on this. I don't think it's a surprise. I think there was a lot of opposition, but I'm actually really offended that it got pulled. I thought it was great policy, and I thought Senator Lee was spot on. When I worked for Congressman Bishop, let me give you an example. There was a man who died in the city of Manaway up in Box Elder County. When he died, he hated his kids, and so he deeded the land in the middle of the city to the Forest Service. The Forest Service had no idea that they owned this land. When the city wanted to extend a cemetery and build a firehouse, they had to find out who owned it. It was the Forest Service.
Wow.
The Forest Service had no idea, and then they said, but no, we're not giving it back. It's ours. They weren't going to do anything. They had no plans to do anything. There are 1.5 million acres of BLM land that are within 1 mile of city limits. I'm sorry, but you are not hiking on that. You are not fishing on that. They're not going to sell a river anyway. And you're not hunting on that land. Make it housing, and it doesn't even have to be housing. It can be infrastructure for housing. You can put sewer lines on there. You can put water lines on there. I don't understand how this got blown so out of proportion. I think the 11,000 letters that went to John Curtis's office, it was done by John Curtis's Democratic opponent, who is a backcountry skier. They're not going to sell off backcountry skiing lands for mansions. You can still have access that you're going to keep even if they sell 3 million acres of federal land.
Hey,
I think it's a real
Adam.
travesty, and I think it's a problem.
Will you stay on with us for the next segment?
Yeah, now you got me hopping
Okay,
mad.
all right. Okay, we'll be right back.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. The Forsyth fire is now 26% contained after burning for almost 2 weeks. Utah Fire Info says it's expanded to over 12,000 acres. New Harmony residents will be meeting later tonight to discuss what's next. Stage 1 fire restrictions are now in place for Washington, Iron, and the surrounding counties. That means no fires except for in approved campgrounds or permanently constructed fire pits, no smoking, cutting, or welding near dry vegetation, and no fireworks on unincorporated state or BLM lands. Fire crews in Hurricane Valley said the blown tire is likely what caused a brush fire on I-15 yesterday afternoon. It was around Tokerville and burned 1.3 acres. No injuries were reported. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Senate is preparing to take the vote for President Trump's budget bill.
The Senate right now is beginning that vote-a-rama. This is a long marathon series of amendments, largely brought by Democrats, although there will be some amendments brought by Republicans, trying to change various sections of this legislation. Most of those Democratic amendments, actually all of those Democratic amendments, expected to likely fail.
ABC's Jay O'Brien reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 179 points to 43,999. Coming up, it's going to be almost 100 today and tomorrow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 9:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Home sellers, do not lose money selling your home the old way. Make more money when you sell your home with a Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Save Right Realtor team at Realty Path. Average interest rates are in the mid to high sixes, but Save Right Realtors will market your home with a fixed rate as low as 4.75%. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate gives buyers monthly payments that are hundreds less than comparable homes. When your home is much more affordable, you get a larger pool of potential buyers who can buy your home. When buyers compare homes and see your home is hundreds less per month, you'll get a quicker offer and a higher sale price. Do not lose money selling your home the old way. Sell faster and make more money. Sell with Save Right. Sell with the Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit saveright.com.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Hey, get in. What? Who are you? I'm future you. Constipation with belly pain still coming back? Yeah. Mia, our doctor figured it out. She said it's irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, and Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the delays on SR 36 in Tooele County are still excessive right now from Pole Canyon Road all the way up to the I-80 merge. People coming out of Tooele City or Stansbury Park are going to be better off getting over to Mid-Valley Highway and getting onto eastbound I-80 from there. It'll take less time if you do. And then our own Jeff Kaplan let us know about a pretty bad crash up in Kaysville. It was on 200 North, right by the Smiths. A medical helicopter had to land. I think that helicopter is gone now, but there's still emergency crews on the scene slowing you down. The Magic has arrived in Salt Lake City. Celebrate the filmmaking magic and more at Harry Potter the Exhibition. Now open at the shops at Southtown. Tickets at harrypotterexhibition.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, it's sunny with highs in the upper 90s. Tomorrow it'll be much of the same, but with some possible clouds and showers. Right now it is 81 degrees and only slightly cloudy in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We want to continue our discussion of the One Big Beautiful Bill, Holly. We want to continue with Adam Gardner. And it's too bad we didn't have Adam on for the top segment where we talked about BYU football, because I assume he had an opinion about that one as well. Adam, welcome back.
Care about BYU football.
Okay. If it's not the Niners, we're not talking to Adam about
not the Niners, I'm not talking about it.
Okay, you win. So let's continue a little bit more about this, the public lands portion of the bill. It had been, and I know it's off the table now, and Mike Lee has walked away from that, but you indicated that it's something that maybe should have been given a second thought.
Well, all I'm saying is there are some egregious examples of federal land, BLM land, within city limits or within a mile of a city that are perfect land for housing. Every guest that comes on the show, every time I turn on KSL, every time I listen to the legislature, they're talking about housing. We need supply. How do we incentivize developers to build starter homes? Because there's no money in it. And what I'm saying is Senator Lee had a unique position, a unique idea that land that wasn't being used, it wasn't being used for grazing, it wasn't being used for anything else. They could have used this for housing to help some of that supply. And given this land even to developers who could drive down the cost of housing. I think that's worth at least having the debate. And I felt like the debate wasn't even real. It was just immediate no's from outdoorsmen. And I get it. Look, I love the outdoors. I love hiking. I love being in the mountains. This is not the land that we're talking about. I think it should have had a lot more serious discussion. And it's a shame that it wasn't, because there were too many lies being told about his proposal.
So let me ask you this question, Adam. Do you think that if there were an opportunity to have more discussion, like you just mentioned, is it possible that this might come back as like a standalone?
Unless President Trump comes out and says, I want this is something great, it's not going to happen, because Donald Trump Jr. is very against these types of proposals as well. He's a big hunter. He wants federal land locked up. You can actually look at Ryan Zinke, who's a former Secretary of the Interior, a current House member who killed Celeste Malloy's proposal in the House.
Right.
You can look at his positions on this issue and kind of match him up with Donald Trump Jr. And so I don't think Donald Trump's going to actually come out for a proposal like this, even though he's kind of given lip service to it in the past. But no, it needs to be a firm, like, I'm behind this, I'm backing this, I want it to happen. The unfortunate thing with the Byrd rule is it didn't really matter if there was going to be a debate on this subject. With the Byrd rule, they could just kill it automatically. And if you remember, the Byrd rule was used in the Obama administration to kill a lot of Democrat proposals under a Democrat Senate, and they fired the parliamentarian and hired someone who would actually just do whatever they wanted. And so under the Biden administration, they had a kind of a similar issue where we had a lot of different proposals like raising the minimum wage and other things the Democrats wanted in reconciliation, that the parliamentarian said no. But before the parliamentarian made her decision, Republicans were saying, if you fire her, we are calling you guys corrupt. And so the fact that this same parliamentarian used the Byrd rule to keep out Republican proposals, it kind of now locked in the Republicans. Like, well, we can't fire her now because we claim the last guys would be corrupt if they fired her. Yeah. And there's calls to do so. So it's this back and forth, but I think they're going to leave her alone. And this was a way to kill the Mike Lee proposal without actually having to defend their positions.
Yeah. So, Adam, procedurally, how does that occur? Holly did a great job of explaining the Byrd rule earlier. It's something I'm not particularly familiar with, but the parliamentarian who is not a member of the Senate,
right?
She happens to be an appointed person, can unilaterally strike portions of a bill or find it to be not within the scope of the budget, I guess.
Yes, that's right. She was actually the parliamentarian's job is to enforce the Senate's own rules that they choose. So they have chosen these rules to handle reconciliation. And so she enforces their rules, and it is completely up to her interpretation. They can ram this down her throat. It just looks bad if they do that, so they're not going to, I believe. But Senator Byrd was notorious when he got into the Senate, I think 300 years ago. He got into the Senate, and he was sick of all the special interests. So he joined the Budget Committee, joined the Appropriations Committee, was a big appropriator. It was him and Ted Stevens in Alaska. That's why Alaska and Hawaii are governed as actual different entities with the contiguous United States. They got everything for their states. Senator Byrd was no exception. But he used the appropriations process to scrap all of these special interests, giveaways, earmarks, pork barrel spending. And so his amendments were very controversial at the time. They got passed, and they've been kind of an institution ever since. The Senate has decided not to go away from those original rules.
So I have a little bit of a pivot we have a couple of minutes left, but over the weekend, Senator Thom Tillis kind of went on a really fiery speechifying about the One Big Beautiful Bill and the Medicaid cuts in the bill. And I'm wondering if you can talk to us about Senator Tillis and kind of what unfolded over the weekend.
Look, there's some bad blood between Senator Tillis and the president. He voted to impeach him the second time around. Tillis is no fan of the president, and the president hates Tom Tillis and uses every opportunity to tweet to tell America so. And in fact, it was such a big deal, this speech, Tom Tillis chose not to wear a bolo tie on the Senate floor and wore an actual necktie and a real suit.
Wow.
So this was a big deal. Everyone was commenting on Twitter, whoa, he's serious here. Listen up, no bolo tie. So Tom Tillis, in my opinion, he's a great guy, a great legislator, super smart. But he had some warnings about Medicaid cuts. Josh Hawley, who's the biggest MAGA kind of populist there is, he also warned about Medicaid cuts, but he's so MAGA he was not going to vote against this bill. But Tom Tillis, no way. He was going to stick and stand his ground about these Medicaid cuts. The president visited the Capitol, spoke at the Tuesday Republican luncheon. This was probably a month or two ago, and said, don't mess with Medicaid. Don't touch Medicaid. They did.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with a lot of those cuts. A lot of them that they're warning about are rural care, rural hospitals. That's going to be a problem, and that's going to hurt the system, and that's going to hurt those in rural areas of the state, of the country, that are really going to need Medicaid help, and those are going to be cut. And so Tom Tillis was right. He stuck to his guns. I don't begrudge him for that, but Republicans are going to have a problem with it if they're going to try and get this bill passed.
Yeah. I think one of the things that stood out to me, too, is that President Trump again said he would primary the senator, and he said, fine, I'm not running again.
Yeah, and I was sad to see that. I'm sad that President Trump goes after more Republicans than he does Democrats when he's talking about primarying people. Yeah. It's really unfortunate. He's gone on the stump and spent so much time against Thomas Massie as well from Kentucky, wanting him out of office. He spends so much political capital defeating Republicans. I wish he would just stick with the issues and just kind of let bygones be bygones. But it just kind of shows that the president's saying things on this bill, but he's never in the weeds. So he's saying, don't mess with Medicaid. And the Senate goes, okay, sir. And then they mess with it anyway, and he doesn't do anything, and the bill passes as is. So he's not totally involved. And if you're not really involved in the process and the negotiations of the bill, then don't get so mad when people are sticking to their guns, actually keeping your positions. Tom Tillis is agreeing with the president and still can't catch a break. That's a shame.
Adam Gardner, thanks for joining us this morning, and thanks for having that extra latte before you hooked us up. You're great. I love that guy. When we come back after the break, the France Canyon fire and the Forsyth fire in Utah continue to grow, and wildfire experts say the West is destined to burn. Stay with us for more.
Over 3/4 of Americans will experience foot pain, and most will just live with that pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to change that. Here's Amanda from Provo.
I am an active woman, ex-Division I basketball player at BYU. By trade, I'm a PE teacher. Over the last 2 years is when my feet really started hurting.
And that's when Amanda's life changed with a visit to Foot Solutions in Orem.
My experience at Foot Solutions was so unique to any other experience I've had. Over an hour they spent with me, really going over my specific pain points.
After discovering so many solutions and custom in-house made orthotics, what does Amanda want you to know?
Invest in your health. Don't be cheap to your feet. Living a pain-free, active life again has been worth every cent.
Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
I'm Amanda from Provo. I'm 47 years old, and Foot Solutions has given me back a pain-free, active lifestyle.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Regardless of how old your air conditioner is, there are a few things you can do to help it last as many summers as possible. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and like so many things in our life, it's easy to take our air conditioner for granted. If you keep a clean filter, rinse the outdoor unit off every once in a while, and have it serviced once a summer, you can reduce your risk of unexpected breakdowns. But eventually it will break down, and if someone tells you that your only option is to replace it, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. You could save thousands of dollars repairing it instead of replacing it. Any Hour rarely comes across an air conditioner that just can't be repaired. That doesn't mean you won't choose to replace it anyway, but being told you don't have options, that's not cool. So if you want honest answers and straightforward options, give Any Hour Services a call. And remember, every week this summer, Any Hour Services is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer as part of our Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. No purchase is necessary. You can see official rules or schedule your service at anyhour.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
You know, Holly, a couple years ago, a couple of my kids and I went on this multi-day mountain biking trip in Canada, and we were up in these sort of hut-to-hut mountain biking, and the entire time we were there, I never saw the sun because the clouds were, the smoke was so thick, and it's getting to be anymore that's the norm rather than the exception. I mean, it was something you're thinking, how are people even out functioning and running and competing in events like that? And here in Utah, we've been following a number of wildfires here, which are getting more or less contained, but also growing to the point where there's tens of thousands of acres now that are under fire.
Yeah, so in Utah, we've been following the France Canyon fire, which is an uninhabited area, and it's over, what did I tell you, 30,000 acres?
Yeah, 33,500.
Right, so that one has grown. It's starting to have some containment, but we also have the Forsyth fire, which is continuing to grow. It's growing more slowly, but it's over 12,000 acres now, and that's the one that burned over a dozen homes, and it is, I think, 26% contained at this point.
Yeah, and there's some statistics that you pointed out to me earlier about just the fact that it's increased the number of wildfires, the size of wildfires have increased pretty much exponentially since the 70s.
Yeah, that's right. So I read an article in the Deseret News this morning, and it really, the statement really stood out to me. They talked to a wildfire expert about basically what's happening in the West, and asked her if this is the West doomed to burn, and she said I prefer destined to doom. The West is going to burn. Fire is part of the process.
Yeah, and even in the area where we live up in the Ogden Valley, there's so much open space that people are building breaks. People are building, in their yards instead of having trees and
they have fire breaks.
Yeah, they have fire breaks.
Yeah.
We talked to Speaker Schultz, House Speaker Schultz, not long ago about what he considered to be the ability of the federal government to allow local municipalities come in and build some summer roads and to build some ways to make fire breaks.
What it did is it stopped roads from being built and maintained into our public lands to deal with managing those public lands and fire management, so that we could manage those lands properly and better. Now, it's important to know that those roads were put in, and they're really They're not highways. They're very small roads, basically the size of four-wheeler trails pretty much. But it allows equipment to get back in there and thin the forest out and clear the underbrush and just really maintain the forest. Well, during the Clinton administration, the roadless law was put in place that stopped that from happening. And since then, the forests have not been managed in the way they should. And that's why you're seeing so many of the wildfires be as big as what they are and as frequent as what they are, not having that ability to manage it. So what it does is it opens it back up and allows, under those circumstances, those roads to be maintained or even built. But then again, you have to close them back off and rehab them and plant the habitat back in there. So it still stays primitive, and that's important to know that, this in some of this area it's wilderness and it's primitive area, but it's also important to manage those forests, and that's what this is all about.
So one of the things that he was speaking about, a rule that was rescinded by the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. She announced it. And it's the roadless rule, right? So he was talking about being able to get back in there and get some of the underbrush out and maybe even take down some trees. I mean, if you go up the canyon, you always see dead trees that have fallen over and those types of things, right? That's normal. That's part of nature. But it's just interesting. We have increased so much, right? So one of the firefighters in this Deseret News story from New Mexico actually said that they used to consider fires large if they were 50 or 60,000 acres. Now they don't hit that point until they're 300,000 acres. And in California, you can hit 1 million acres or more of wildfires.
Yeah, and Schultz, I didn't set that up very well, but you explained it very well, talked about maybe we're our own worst enemies. And maybe now that we recognize that there are going to be more and more and more fires, why not go in and maintain our national forests, our national, where with the BLM land, whatever, be able to go in there and I guess set aside this roadless rule and build roads, or at least fire breaks, call them something. I mean, the whole idea is, hey, we don't want roads and highways going through our national parks, national forests. That was never going to happen.
Right.
But there has to be some maintenance, and it seems to me that Schultz is right. That can be done on the local level because the federal government just doesn't have the resources to do it.
Well, do you remember when there was the big Yellowstone fire? I remember the conversation surrounding that was that at some point you just let it burn, and there are advantages naturally to have some wildfire, right? There are trees where their cones don't open. I think the really like redwoods or they actually will not reproduce until they have the really intense heat from a wildfire. So I remember we drove up to Yellowstone. Oh, I don't know. It was probably a couple years after that. And it was like, whoa, you're driving through what looks like a movie, landscape of just all these blackened trees. But then a couple years later, you've got all this new growth. And that's part of the process, right? Is you just let it go for sometimes. But now we have a lot of people who live in the West as well. So we do have that.
Yeah. And I do a lot of biking with my son up in he lives in Napa area. And every year we go, we'll be riding and he'll say, oh, this was the fire from 2020. And
Right.
we're about to hit the fire from 2023. And there's just these huge swaths of land. And they're not that far, Holly, from development. They're not that far from where people are living.
Right.
And you can see, in fact, some of them, that there are some structures that have been damaged. And we've been spared that a little bit here in Utah, except the Forsyth fire down in
so far.
in the southwestern part of the state that has in fact hit some homes. But we've got hundreds, maybe thousands of firefighters now deployed working on these fires, and they're not necessarily getting contained, and the weather's not helping us either.
Right. It's so hot. And, I think Utah specifically, so Governor Cox over the weekend, I think on Saturday, maybe it was Friday, called for a day of prayer on Sunday to petition the heavens for rain in this area. But also we are now in I think stage 1 fire restrictions. So we're heading into the 4th of July weekend. It's very, very dry. And those fire restrictions impact fireworks. They impact camping fires. They impact where and what you can use for shooting, right? It impacts metalwork. I mean, I remember a fire a few years ago, and I know it happens every year because I see the warnings, where there were trailers being towed, and the chains
right.
they created sparks, and those sparks started a wildfire off the side of the highway.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people that start fires may not even know because of something you just described that they've started a fire. Maybe they're out there shooting their gun, and it ricochets off and hits something and creates a fire a few hundred yards from where they're shooting, and they don't realize.
And it may even smolder for a little bit,
right?
Right,
They don't realize they're the ones. And boy, how many times you go hiking or camping and you go into an area where there is a fire pit, and the last person that was there didn't even put it out very
it's
well,
still
or left some
smoking
trash
or,
in there, thinking that it'll burn eventually,
right?
And it does, but with the winds and other things like that, it can just get worse and worse and worse. And it is sad because we know, you and I both know this. The 4th of July is a week away, and somebody's going to start a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's in somebody's field,
or their trash can
near their house, or their
right.
trash can. Right, that hits close to home, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah. But you get the warning. It's like in the winter, we get these avalanche warnings, and I tell my wife, somebody's going to get an avalanche this weekend, and then they do. I'm telling people right now, somebody's going to start a fire with their fireworks this weekend, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
And you just have to be so careful to avoid that.
Yeah, again, it's one of the issues that the West faces, and we're talking about its destiny. Is it something that we can control? Is it something that is just totally out of our control? I think certainly the nature of wildfires have changed, and I think there's been a lot of work on the federal level for wildfire mitigation. I mean, Senator Romney, when he was in there, was working on it. Senator Curtis, when he was in the House, was working on it, continues to work on it on the Senate side. And part of it is saying, please let us be able to do the things we know that will help mitigate some of this risk in the state of Utah.
Yeah, well, we started the show today, Holly. We talked about some breaking news, a lawsuit that had been dismissed. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about some other breaking news, a lawsuit that was just filed that we learned a little bit about last week. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. We're following a developing story in the courts where the attorney for BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff and the attorney for the woman who accused Retzlaff of sexual assault have filed a joint motion to have the case dismissed. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas broke the news on KSL News Radio this morning.
It says that the parties agreed to dismiss this case with prejudice, which means it can never be brought again, and upon the merits of plaintiff's complaint. In other words, they're saying she didn't have any merit. So right now it's a joint motion for dismissal. There's been a notice to submit and a proposed order. It's just a matter of time before the judge signs it, but effectively this case is over.
We've reached out to BYU and Retzlaff's attorneys. So far, there has not been any comment. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump's budget bill has been brought to the Senate floor for a vote. ABC's Karen Travers is there.
It's the biggest priority legislatively right now for the White House and for President Trump, because this bill includes many of his critical campaign promises, extending the tax cuts from his first term in office, the no tax on tips and overtime. These are all big things that he promised voters last year, and now they're including in this legislation.
We'll let you know if the bill passes or fails. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 182 points to 43,997. Coming up, hot today and a small chance of storms tomorrow. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 10:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
Five guys walk into a JCW's and order burgers. A pastrami, a mushroom Swiss, a guacamole bacon, a hickory barbecue, a ribeye steak, 2 onion rings, 3 French fries, a strawberry, mint, peanut butter, chocolate, and marshmallow shake, and not one left a tip. Because at JCW's, we don't ask for it. We think the price you see should be the price you pay. And all that, would you like to leave a tip stuff, is for the birds. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it. Open in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you bought that TV in the parking lot. It just happened to not come in a box or include a remote. And when you finally managed to turn it on, all it displayed was the menu of Grumpy's Tacos. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So, I was taking my side hustle full-time.
Bold move, my friend.
And I needed to find everything in one stop.
Like finding Bigfoot riding a unicorn.
Yeah, so I hit the Staples Easy button. Staples had everything for a new office and print services for signs and brochures. Plus, Cindy, the Staples associate, helped me find the best tech for me.
Wait, no drama?
No, Staples made it easy.
For the products, services, and experts your business needs. Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Nothing says summer like double rewards on your Mountain America Rewards credit card. Get 2 times the points on everything from gas and groceries to travel and home projects. Now through July 31st, 2025. Oh, wow. It's the perfect way to stretch your dollar and make summer doubly rewarding. Apply for your Mountain America Rewards credit card at macu.com/double. Loans on approved credit. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply.
Traffic and weather together on KSL News Radio, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, for the first time all morning long, we no longer have any delays getting out of Tooele County, either on SR 36 or I-80. But you do have some slowdowns southbound I-15 going through the Farmington area. That is due to construction near Shepherd Lane. Happens about this time every morning. And there's still a crash in the cleanup stages northbound I-15, right at the exit to 24th Street in Ogden, but it's on the right shoulder. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL Weather Center says we should see a high of 97 degrees today and then 99 tomorrow, with a 20% chance of pop-up thunderstorms. Right now, we're well on our way. 82 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We should update a story we talked about earlier, Holly, and that was the lawsuit against BYU quarterback Jay Retzlaff. We broke the news this morning that there had been a motion and a stipulation that case be dismissed. We are reading now that a judge has signed that order of dismissal about 9:57 this morning. So that case is over. It's been dismissed. It's been dismissed according to the motion and the stipulation with prejudice, meaning it cannot be brought up again, and on the merits. In other words, they're saying that the case didn't have merit. I guess I'm reading between the lines a little bit, but it may be no surprise. But I want to talk about another lawsuit that we're talking about today, and this is one that you and I maybe got a little heads up about when we interviewed our Attorney General Derek Brown last week, and that is a lawsuit brought by the state of Utah against Snapchat. A complaint and jury demand has been filed against Snapchat for what they're saying is unleashing experimental AI technology on young users while misrepresenting the safety of the platform.
Yeah, Snapchat is a platform where what I know it best for is disappearing video. So you can have a video snap up there, and in fact, you could keep streaks going. I had several of my kids who had Snap streaks that went for over 1,000 days. But the messages disappear, and so it's one of the things where, how do you even verify safety? So the details in this lawsuit where it's targeting these young users, really disturbing.
Yeah, and this is the fourth lawsuit brought by the Department of Commerce, Utah Department of Commerce, and the Utah Attorney General's office against a major social media company, including some coordinated lawsuits against Meta, which I think is Facebook, and TikTok.
Yep.
I mean, Utah's taking a pretty aggressive stance to protect kids from the digital world. This is one I hadn't appreciated, I guess, Snapchat, but they're saying that the Snapchat profits from what they say unconscionable design features created to addict children to the app and facilitates illegal drug sales and sextortion. I mean, they don't hold back.
Right. So one of the things that they're claiming, and this is, I think we know this about all social media platforms at this point, is that they are designed to be addictive. They are designed to give us the hits of dopamine. They are designed to pull us in, right? And I don't think it matters which social media platform you're on. It's really designed to do that. And it includes they position themselves as a safe alternative, but some of the examples from the complaint is that they had a sample, I guess a test account, they called it, for a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. It was really quickly filled with highly sexual material, including recommend videos from OnlyFans, which we know is a pornographic site now, and other models in various stages of non-clothing. Just that alone, right? You're hitting up 13 and 15-year-olds.
Yeah, let me read a couple of quotes from some of the people involved as the plaintiffs in this case. We have the governor, we have the attorney general, we have the Utah Department of Commerce director. The governor said this, and I'll quote, "Utah is taking a stand to protect our kids in an increasingly digital world. This lawsuit against Snap is about accountability and about drawing a clear line. The well-being of our children must come before corporate profits. We won't sit back while tech companies exploit our young users. It's time for common sense protections to ensure a safer online experience for every minor." The Attorney General, Derek Brown, says this, Snapchat's features facilitate sexual predators and drug dealers' efforts to target and exploit children. We will continue to do everything in our power to protect Utah kids from exploitation. My office will not be deterred in its efforts to keep children safe online. And finally, the executive director of Utah Department of Commerce, Margaret Woolley-Buss, says this, Utah's youth deserve a safe digital environment free from exploitation and harmful influences. Our lawsuit against Snap serves as a critical reminder that companies must prioritize the welfare of our children over profit. We are committed to enforcing the necessary protections and standing up against practices that endanger the mental and emotional well-being of our young users. So they're quite united in terms of very disdain for what Snap is doing and protecting our young people.
Yeah, I think this is one of the issues that I think our Utah government has been focused on recently. So we have the legislature that has passed age verification requirements for minors. We have, in fact, I see other states now are starting to pick that up and say, we're going to do that as well. We're pursuing making sure that we've got age verification for younger users on these platforms. And I know that kids' brains just are not developed. I think the science says somewhere around age 25, right, before you feel like you have all of your thinking capabilities. So when you're going after a 13-year-old or a 10-year-old, say, and you're creating this content that is designed to harm them and get them sucked into either drug use or sexual activity or even the using beauty filters, right, where you start to have children as young as 5 and 6 years old start to get body dysmorphia, right, because they're looking at filtered content of people who they don't look like that in real life. And so when the kids don't look like that in real life, they start to be particularly hard on themselves, especially the girls.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the lawsuit just because that's what I do, and sort of trying to see how it is that Utah has a dog in the fight. You know what I mean? How does Utah have jurisdiction to do this? And they're bringing it under the Utah Consumer Sales Practices Act and the Utah Consumer Privacy Act. And what they're saying is that they have that right as people who enforce the law in the state of Utah, and claiming that Snapchat violates those. And what they're asking for here, Holly, is to stop Snap. They're calling it Snap. I call it
That's
Snapchat.
the name of the company.
Yeah, Snap's
but
continued use of deceptive design features that addict children, harm their mental health and well-being, and facilitate illegal drug sales, sexual exploitation, sex trafficking, the distribution of pornography, and other unlawful acts. So this is really a what do you call it, a lawsuit to get Snap to stop doing something. I mean, they're trying to alter, amend, or change their practices, their business practices in Utah, saying you can no longer be here if this lawsuit prevails unless we can enjoin your app from having these certain features.
Right. So they have. I know Utah has an ongoing series of lawsuits against these social media companies, and there seem to be a lot of the same type of arguments we used to see against both pornography, but back in the day, even against smoking, right? So if you remember from when we were younger, I could go to the store and for a penny, I could buy candy that was pretend cigarettes, right? Yeah. And doctors would get on television and endorse certain brands of cigarettes, and finally we had public sentiment that realized we had a Surgeon General actually speak out against smoking back in the day, and that caught on. We've now had the previous Surgeon General under President Biden really spoke strongly about the negative impacts on social media on children's well-being. And so we do have a movement out there, and Utah has been on the forefront of wanting to protect the children who live in our state.
Yeah, and what they've done in this lawsuit really effectively, at least from what I'm reading, is they've gone through a number of statistics and outlined how much time the average Utah kid, the ages 13 to 17-year-old, spends on Snapchat, how many kids are using it, and more importantly, they've done a great job here of articulating the harm. They've gone through a number of statistics and a number of articles, and some look like to be some fairly learned articles about the harms and the mental disorders and the problems that these apps cause our young people. So they're saying, we have a stake in the game, the state of Utah. We have children that are being harmed. Here's the harm, and here's the number of children that are being affected by this. So, wow, this is a pretty important new lawsuit. We'll see how it goes. When we come back after the break, 2 firefighters were killed and a third is fighting for his life after being ambushed while responding to a wildfire in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho over the weekend. This is just a horrible story, Holly.
Yeah,
More details on that after the break.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code POWER to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code POWER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
The new Inside Sources.
Welcome back. You know, we talk about some really events that really trouble us, and I guess the word depravity comes to mind when I talk about this next one. But a man armed with a rifle started a wildfire on Sunday and then began shooting at the first responders in a northern Idaho mountain community, killing 2 firefighters and wounding a third who is apparently now fighting for his life over several hours. This one just, I don't know what possibly could have been going on in somebody's mind to do something so awful.
Yeah, it was really awful. It was one of the news stories I saw pop up over the weekend that I felt like we should talk about today, because it's just like first responders. You think about like the images from 9/11. They're the ones who rush into the fire, right? They're rushing towards the fire. They're rushing towards the accident. They're there to help, and they were killed just trying to go out and do their job.
Yeah, and the police in Idaho are still trying to figure out what led to this deadly shooting. Here's ABC News Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman.
This morning, the sniper who allegedly killed 2 firefighters and wounded a third is dead after an all-day standoff with hundreds of law enforcement officers near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Firefighters seemingly responding to a routine wildfire call around 1:21 Sunday afternoon. But about 40 minutes later, authorities receiving reports that 2 of their own were being shot at. Ambushed.
Yeah, really disturbing, like we said. And this is an area in Idaho that I have friends. They have family, a long family history there. Just deeply disturbing to see that there was somebody really wanting to target firefighters.
Right, and as it was happening, one of the firefighters radioed in, and this is an audio that we got from Broadcastify.
I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw us in.
To draw us in. And, we talk about it in my business, Holly, this idea of suicide by cop. And I know that's a horrible phrase, but some people get to a point in their lives where they sort of want to go out and have someone do it for them. But bringing in firefighters, they're not armed. They're not going to a scene. They get a call, there's a brush fire. And this is a beautiful area sort of north of Coeur d'Alene, I believe. And it's the Canfield Mountain area. They go there, they're responding. They're not wearing bulletproof vests.
Right.
Or, I mean, it's hot enough for what they're doing. And they go, and all of a sudden, shots ring out. 2 of them are killed. The other one, a third, is struggling. And then the gunman, either through what the police are doing or on his own account, is ends up dead. The police feel comfortable that this was one person. In other words, the area's not cordoned off anymore. Yeah. They're not at some sort of level of high alert. But what a cowardly way of going out and taking people with you.
Well, and it wasn't a short thing either, right? I mean, I'm looking at the Associated Press report, and it just says it was a barrage of gunfire over hours, right? I mean, that's awful.
Yeah, and so, law enforcement and police, I know because we work with them a lot, they work together, and they're our first responders. They're the people that help us out. They're our public servants, and mostly overpaid or overworked,
underpaid.
and whether we like to say it or not, they put their lives on the line. I mean, if you have a loved one who's a firefighter or law enforcement officer, you kind of get up in the morning and hope and pray that person will be coming home. I mean, it's not something that our loved ones expect with our jobs.
Right.
We don't have to put our lives on the line.
Right.
But people that do, I don't know. I guess part of me has. I work with police. I represent police. I know that they get involved in tough situations. But you don't expect that with firefighters to go into the line of fire.
So I'm just seeing some news updating right now is that they've identified the suspect. He was a 20-year-old. His name was Russ Rowley, according to law enforcement officials. And he was found on the mountain after they were zeroing in on his location yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, and I think that everyone's going obviously what the one-word question that everybody wants to know is why. Did he have something in for firefighters? Did he have an agenda going there? Or did he, is he somebody that likes to start fires? But, why shoot at people that are arriving at a scene? Everyone's going to be wondering what's going on here. Was there some social media post or something that
right,
he's done?
Exactly. I'm sure there'll be ongoing investigation to see if there was any kind of, what kind of searches were on his computer. Did anybody know anything that were his neighbors or his friends or family members, those types of things. Unfortunately, we kind of know the drill, right? After there's a shooting, we kind of know what the next few steps are.
And what you hope as a result of this, Holly, is that we don't have to change the way we do respond to things like this. Police officers are wearing bulletproof vests in ways they didn't 20 years ago,
right?
Which is basically always.
Right.
A lot of our public figures are wearing shielded body armor in ways we wouldn't have thought of 30 or 40 years ago.
Yep.
You would hope that we don't have to start training our firefighters to have to cover themselves, to have to protect themselves going into something like a wildfire. I mean, and things like this happen, and it's awful. Let's just hope that it's a one-off and that we don't change the way we respond to fires.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford to do that, and firefighters don't want to do it anyway. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're
about. And they're
about.
already wearing so much gear, right? Especially if they're going into the backcountry. It's hot, it's heavy, but this manhunt ended up with over 300 law enforcement officers, including the FBI. And they were able to use cell phone data to find out where he was, to basically triangulate where he was. When they located him, they found his body. So it sounds to me like maybe it was self-inflicted.
Yeah, I mean, with that many people, he may have been wounded or shot or hurt going into it. But yeah, he certainly didn't want to go out with any level of courage or bravery or anything like that. And I'm sorry we even have to mention his name because there's going to be a lot going on here. And, when something like this happens, you get, like you described, you get local law enforcement, you'll get the city, you'll get the county, you'll get the state, you'll get the federal government out there because they don't know what's going on. And you start shooting at people randomly and for no reason. And you think, okay, is this some sort of a vigilante or some sort of a person that's going to cause more problems? And how far is it going to go?
Yeah.
What's the extent of the harm that's going to be caused here? Are there multiple people? Is
The
there
wildfire is still going, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
That's irony, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And he starts the fire to draw them in.
That's right.
It's a complete ambush.
Yep.
We're going to be learning a lot more about this as we go on. This just happened, last night? Yesterday
afternoon was about 1:30 was when the first call for the fire came in. So we're not even 24 hours out.
Yeah. Well, our hearts go out to the firefighters. Our hearts go out to the police officers, to the other agents that were there. Let's hope that this is a one-off, and let's hope that we don't have to. I mean, we're here today talking about all the wildfires, and we spent a segment a little while ago just talking about how big they've come, and they're starting to hurt public land. They're starting to hurt private land, some private dwellings.
Yeah.
And those people, if your dwelling was ruined, I mean that's life altering. That's really exceptional. Something that people don't want to suffer.
Right.
But then you talk about lives being lost, not by a firefighter who got caught too close to the fire or went into a dangerous situation, but he's just shot. I mean, he's just completely unarmed, completely unprepared, and he's just shot with somebody who's got probably a high-powered rifle and sitting in the weeds somewhere, unknown, unnamed, and draws people in.
One of the things too this weekend, we only have a minute or so, but I also saw there was a standoff in Utah, right, that ended up in a SWAT standoff, and that was also a news story that was deeply concerning. A caller called into dispatch and said, "Hey, I've killed my wife," and as police respond, they end up finding out that he has a bomb strapped to a vest. He ends up dead. We assume his wife is dead, but that was a standoff just in Utah, right, where you just say, gosh, what's happening here?
Right, and police go into that under high alert. I mean, they know those are the most volatile type of situations that the police deal with, and those are situations where officers go with their guns at the ready, and you never know what's going to happen.
Still, for neighbors in a neighborhood, very scary.
Yeah. When we come back after the break, this phenomena of self-driving vehicles continues. I have a Tesla, so this one's interesting. It hits close to home. We're with the debut of Tesla's robo-taxis. Let's talk about the new normal on the road after the break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Authorities have identified the shooter in the Idaho brush fire as 20-year-old Wes Rowley. Investigators believe the suspect intentionally set the fire before firing shots at the responding officers, killing 2 and injuring 1. Rowley was found dead on the mountain with a weapon close by. A 44-year-old man is in the hospital after he was shot by police on I-80 in Salt Lake City overnight. Police say this started when a tow truck driver called police saying somebody shot at him.
While they were in the process of finding him, that individual actually started shooting at our officers. So our officers initiated a pursuit. Throughout that pursuit, the individual kept firing at officers. At some point, our officers did return fire.
Salt Lake City Police Detective Michael Ruff says officers were able to hit and spin the suspect's vehicle around on I-80, and then officers say they started taking gunfire. They returned fire and the suspect was hit. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. 5 officers have been placed on administrative leave while the situation is investigated. The Utah Jazz are saying goodbye to Colin Sexton. They're trading him and a future second-round pick to the Charlotte Hornets for Yusuf Nurkic. Sexton came to the Jazz in the Donovan Mitchell trade 3 years ago. He averaged just over 17 points a game during his time in Utah. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 146 points to 43,965. Coming up, it's going to be super hot before we get to the 4th of July. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Well, here we are. It's officially moving season, a time filled with hours of packing, unpacking, and so much bubble wrap. But the first thing you should do when moving into your new home is make sure that the Wi-Fi is booming with Xfinity. It's super quick and easy to set up. Then, boom! You'll have your new home hooked up with the ultimate Wi-Fi experience faster than the time it takes to parallel park a moving truck. Then you'll be back online with the most reliable Wi-Fi with the best-in-class equipment from Xfinity, so you can just kick back, relax, and stream your favorite movies and TV shows while somebody else deals with those boxes. Because with Xfinity, the only thing you'll have to worry about is remembering where you packed the remote. Make the right and easy move with Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com/move. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Most reliable Wi-Fi claim based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report August 2024. Go to xfinity.com/move.
Hey, it's Brian with Olson's Greenhouse. In today's busy world, your home should be your sanctuary. A peaceful retreat where you can unwind, breathe deeply, and recharge. And what better way to create that haven than with flowers? A pop of color in your flower beds, a cheerful container garden by the front door, or a lush patio filled with vibrant blooms can transform any space into a personal oasis. Flowers don't just brighten up your home, they lift your spirits too. Research even shows that surrounding yourself with plants can reduce stress and boost happiness. At Olson's Greenhouse, we grow premium quality plants that make it easy to bring beauty and joy into your life. Whether you prefer bold, eye-catching colors or soft, soothing pastels, we have the perfect flowers to complement your space. And with locally grown plants, you know they're ready to thrive. This spring, create a sanctuary of color and comfort with flowers from Olson's Greenhouse. Find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens or go to OGG.com to find a retailer near you. That's OGG.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Traffic and weather together. Another update brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
We have a road closure in Salt Lake City. This is Redwood Road. It is shut down both northbound and southbound between 400 and 500 South. It's due to an auto pedestrian crash. Traffic is going to be diverted in the area, so plan for delays. The good news is if you're on a freeway, most of those are traveling at speed, just a few brake lights. Southbound I-15 through Farmington and road construction, as well as SR-36 and I-80 right where they merge together, also due to lane restrictions. Advanced Window Products, factory direct affordable windows. Call today, they're on their way. Financing available, save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we should see a high today of 97, then 99 on Tuesday. KSL Weather Center says there's a small chance of pop-up thunderstorms on Tuesday through Friday, but most of those storms will be over the mountains. Right now, it's 84 degrees and sunshine in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Okay, I'll admit, Holly, I have a Tesla. I bought it before. Bought it back in 2022 or earlier. It's been a great car. I like it. But I'm hesitant to let it tell me too much about how to drive or where to drive or anything like that. It does sort of correct once in a while if I get outside the lane. It'll pull me back in. But I don't know that I'm very keen on the whole idea of a self-driving vehicle.
Yeah.
For one thing, I enjoy driving.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I would want to have a self-driving vehicle.
So I've never even been in a self-driving vehicle. I've never taken a ride in a Tesla. I've never, in fact, I can't even let my husband drive. If we're in the car, I'm the one that has to drive.
Oh, really?
Because I feel like I have to be in control. And that somehow if I'm the one with my hands on the wheel, then I'll be in control and I won't have an accident, which of course is, actually a false narrative that I give myself. But I can't even let my husband drive, so let alone sit in a seat or a back seat where there's nobody in the front seat. Well, Jay Evenson, who's the Deseret News opinion editor, is in studio with us today to talk about these self-driving robo-taxis. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you. Well, Holly, that's my recurring nightmare, is that I'm sitting in a self-driving car that's heading for a cliff or running into a wall or something, and I can do nothing about it, and it's just happening.
That is a nightmare.
And so I wrote about Robotaxi, which is Elon Musk's latest Tesla venture, and it debuted in Austin, Texas last week, and almost immediately problems started happening. And you can find these videos on YouTube, and they're kind of scary. And I think the worst one was the car is making a left-hand turn, but kind of changes its mind halfway through, and then just speeds ahead on the wrong side of the road. There are no cars coming, luckily, right then. And then it tries to kind of straddle the center stripe, and you can hear cars honking. And then it moves over into the next left turn lane to make its turn. And everyone's kind of shaking their head saying, what is going on? And there are other examples of it braking hard just because it saw a police car, even though the car wasn't in its way. Kind of a guilty sort of braking hard. And there was one where you can hear a passenger saying that he's going to press, there's a button that says to be dropped off earlier than your destination. So he presses that button, and the car stops in the middle of an intersection, and the door is open.
Oh, my gosh. We're laughing, but that sounds dangerous.
So my point is that I don't think we're quite there yet with the technology. And these robo-taxis, they're geofenced, they operate under strict conditions, but they're still having problems. And there was another incident that got a lot of publicity a little while ago of a man who was trying to get to the airport, and he got in a self-driving taxi, and the car just started circling around and around a parking lot. He had no idea what to do and how to get out of that.
I want to play something from that, Jake. Give us just a second.
Why is this happening to me on a Monday? I'm in a Waymo car.
Connected to rider support. This call may be recorded for quality assurance.
This car is just going in circles.
Mike Johns recorded this video from the backseat of a Waymo driverless rideshare vehicle when he says it began to drive erratically. Johns was in Scottsdale, Arizona, and ordered the self-driving car to take him to the airport. When the video shows, it started driving in circles.
Couldn't happen to me. And it did happen to me. Is this a prank? By the third, fourth loop, we got a problem. So I end up hearing them contact me in the car.
Hi there, Mike. I'm calling from Waymo support. I'm just calling because I received a notification that your car might be experiencing some routing issue. Please bear with me while I am.
Yeah, I got a flight to catch. Why is this thing going in a circle? I'm getting dizzy. Look at what it's doing.
I understand. I'm really, really sorry, Mike. We're currently working with the situation of the vehicle. Is it circling around a parking lot, right?
It's circling around a parking lot. I got my seatbelt on. I can't get out the car. Has this been hacked? What's going on? I feel like I'm in the movies.
John says a Waymo representative guided him to open up the app, and the support team ultimately fixed the error. Johns was able to catch his flight, which was delayed.
If you have your app pulled up, I need you to tap My Trip in the lower left corner of your app.
Can't you just do it? You should be able to handle it. Take over the car. You don't need my phone.
I don't have an option to control the car.
Oh
Mike,
my
I'm
gosh.
really so sorry about this.
Well, can you stop this car?
I'm trying to pull it over right now. Apologies.
A spokesperson for Waymo told CNN that the delay lasted just over 5 minutes, that Johns was not charged for the trip, and what they described as a software glitch has been resolved.
It's the future of where things are going, so I'm definitely a part of that. And I thought, hey, this would be a cool experience, but it wasn't.
That was CNN coverage. And Jay, they didn't charge him for that, which I thought was,
That's
pretty
great.
generous. Yeah.
I love how the worst thing was it was a Monday, too, that this happened. So, and who wants to be sitting on hold with customer support when something like that is happening?
Right, and they're saying, well, we can't control the car, sorry. Open your app.
Open your app. So, do I have that app somewhere on my phone? What, it's just a mess. So there are officially 6 different levels of self-driving vehicles, and I've written about this before. Level 3 is kind of where Tesla is today for most consumers, and there are other manufacturers too that are at this level. It does a lot of things on its own. It can turn, it can find your destination, but it requires a driver to be there and to have hands at the ready. This is what gets me upset about a lot of the commercials you see on TV, because it looks like you don't even need your hands close to the steering wheel. You do. Now, level 4 is where you don't need to have anyone in the driver's seat, and the car can handle everything pretty much on its own. A lot of these taxi companies are operating on level 4, but it's a very careful, like I said, geo-fenced level 4. I have some questions about it. I don't know how well they can respond to a policeman's hand signal if the lights go out at an intersection. I saw one video on YouTube of a car that was stuck at a 4-way. It looked like the signal was out and they were in a 4-way situation, but the car was completely confused.
Wow, yeah.
And just sat at the intersection and never moved. So I don't think we're quite there yet, but of course the software learns from every one of these mistakes, but we cannot afford to get somebody injured or, heaven forbid, killed because of software glitches. So I really firmly do believe that the future includes self-driving cars, and it's going to be there by the time I'm old and infirm and need a car to take me to the doctor's office for an appointment every day. But I just don't think we're there yet.
So there have been fatalities, haven't there?
There have been, yes. I think there was one in Arizona, a pedestrian who was struck.
Wow.
And there have been others who have been injured. And there's one really scary video. I can't remember if it's a Tesla or what car it is, but he's in self-driving mode and he's speeding toward a railroad track.
Oh, wow.
And you can clearly see there's a train there, and it's starting to dawn on the driver that this car is not going to stop.
Wow.
And he presses the brake and he misses. He just barely misses hitting the train. So these things are happening. There are glitches. There are times when the cars misinterpret what they're seeing, or there's sun glare, or there's something that keeps it from doing what it should. But like I said, we're working. The industry is working on perfecting these things, but we're not there yet.
Jay, can you stay with us for another segment?
Absolutely.
We want our listeners to call in and convince us to ride in a self-driving vehicle, or just share your experience. Call us at 801-575-TALK or text us at 57500. That's 801-575-TALK or text us at 57500 and tell us about your self-driving vehicle, your experience, or what you think the future is after the break.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies the same item, current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music just like other families do over sports, camping, or other interests. And we talked. Little everyday conversations from silly to serious that built a foundation over time. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life. And I was so grateful that you and Mom had become these sober, stable people who were always there for me.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, whether it's music or anything else. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
All in together now, we can make it better. Can we do it? We rope it up. Because we know how to jump.
Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Inside Sources.
We want to hear from you, your experience and your opinions about self-driving vehicles. Share those with us at 801-575-TALK and text us at 57500. We're back with Jay Evenson from the Deseret News. Jay, we talk about how the self-driving vehicles have their flaws, but even vehicles operated by a taxi driver have their flaws too. I mean, have there been any studies or do we know which one's safer, at least at this point in time?
Well, I quote the Brookings Institution about this, and they say the jury is out. And actually, if you remove certain things like drunk driving, aggressive driving, distracted driving from the mix, human drivers are pretty good. Unfortunately, we engage in that other behavior a little bit too much. But they said here that the safety advantages of self-driving cars are aspirational, but have not yet been proven. And there's human error in everything. So there's error in humans driving cars, but humans are the ones who are writing code for the software on these self-driving cars. And they make errors as well. So there's errors everywhere. And you're not necessarily that much safer having a self-driving car than a car driven by a competent, not drunk, not distracted, not enraged human.
Right. Well, we've talked on this show several times about road rage. We've talked about drivers going over 100 miles an hour in Utah, over 5,000 last year. Just crazy numbers, right? We know that the self-driving cars would not get that high unless they figure out how to hack it, and then they can, override, I guess, the safety system in there. We do have one text that I think this texter makes a really good point. And they say, I think we're a ways away from those self-driving cars in these heavy winter weather states, as they're so dependent upon the markings of the road, which I think you can't see very well in the winter anyway. With our snow and ice in Utah, that would be very problematic for them. It's much different than clean streets in Phoenix, Arizona every day of the year. I think that's a really great point.
And yes, you'll note that those are the cities that have these taxis, are cities in warm weather places where they don't get a lot of those problems. And even in those cities, if there's a particularly heavy rainstorm, I think they have to ground those taxis so they can't go. I had some interesting statistics here from a law firm in Texas called the Kraft Law Firm. They did research going back a few years, and they said autonomous vehicles were involved in 83 fatalities as of June 17th, 2024, and 3,979 incidents from 2019 to 2024. So they're not completely safe, at least certainly not in the current form.
Our producer Caitlin's with us to talk to us about her experience in a self-driving Cybertruck, which are I think right now you'd have to say maybe the state of the art, at least in terms of vehicles you could purchase over the.
Yeah, so I rode in a Cybertruck, but it was more so the supervised self-driving. So someone was sitting in the driver's seat, but they completely let go of the wheel, and we just went for a ride downtown. And we merged onto the freeway, which I was spooked, but I also, it did a very good job.
Wow.
So, and the point about the weather is a very good point, because it did rely on the sensors to follow the lines. It detected vehicles and it changed lanes. I was scared every time we changed a lane, but it did a really good, clean job driving. It would accelerate like crazy getting onto the freeway, but it also detected error of other drivers, and it adjusted as we were merging. There were a few times where the driver did kind of take control in those moments where it was adjusting as other drivers were making errors. Yeah. But overall, I had a great experience in it, but I also am still a little hesitant overall, and I don't know if I would feel comfortable in something like a Waymo where there's not a driver at all.
Right.
Jay, what do you know about the Waymo? I mean, I didn't appreciate those until they were tipping them over during
LA
during one of the riots in LA. They were tipping over these driverless. So we do have some driverless taxis already.
Yes.
And at least in Los Angeles, they do. They must have a fairly sophisticated level of. You talked about the technology hasn't gotten there yet. Waymo's at least at some level where they feel like they're safe enough to put people in them.
I've never driven in one. The only thing I know is that they're ugly. Yes, but I understand that they're geofenced, meaning that they can go only within certain parameters where conditions are known and well known. And if there was a construction project or some other situation there, that they would not be able to go in that area. But yes, level 4 taxis are operating in a lot of cities around the U.S. and, as I said, only in warm weather, clear weather kind of cities.
So you actually mentioned that there's 6 levels. These driverless taxis are level 4. What are 5 and 6?
Well, they're 5. I believe you don't have anybody in the driver's seat. You don't even have to have like a backup human being. And 6 would be you don't even have a steering wheel, you don't have pedals, and the thing just goes on its own.
That's scary.
And that's scary. And that goes back to my nightmare of being in a car that's heading for a cliff and you can't do anything about it.
Just one other thing that I just thought of that I wanted to mention about my experience in the supervised self-driving Cybertruck is something that was really impactful to me is it can detect if you say you have like a medical emergency. The person, quote unquote, driving kind of faked like putting his head down like he to pass out, and the truck will pull over. So that's a benefit that I can see if you get into a situation like that. It kind of looks out for you in that way when it comes to safety. So I see some benefit with that. But I think that these vehicles are just so new that we're not quite ready for it. But I also, like Jay mentioned, the safety between human and the self-driving, like, there's room for error with all of it, but there is less room for road rage, I would say.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's true. I used to know a couple of researchers at the University of Utah. They've since moved on to other universities, but they were conducting research where they were having people drive in these self-driving cars between here and Wendover and back, and the drivers are supposed to be at the ready and have their hands near the steering wheel. And they were trying to measure the attentiveness of drivers on a long drive like that to Wendover. And they were finding that most people were kind of drifting off and the cars, and I don't know, Caitlin, if the truck you were in had anything that would warn you if you didn't have your hands.
Yeah, I don't know about the hands on the steering wheel because it was still in the self-driving mode, but it would start beeping if they noticed something was out of order.
See, I was thinking for Utah cars, they could have a Diet Coke dispenser that would just pop out when you were falling asleep. But anyway.
What about this? The relationship between the car manufacturers and our road crew. And I'll just say this, because the guest who sent us a text said, what about the heavy winter weather? You depend on markings on the road. What if you depended on some technology in the road that was like a sensor because I remember driving once down by Beaver, and I remember I could not see anything. I had no idea where I was going except for those reflectors on the road. But I don't know if there's ever going to be some technology where the car actually knows where you are on the road, even if you don't, because of the coverage of the snow. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And there was talk early on about creating roads that had sensors in them to help cars. I think it was decided that was too expensive for taxpayers to handle, and it was better for the private sector to do self-driving cars, on their own dime.
I guess the rumble strip is sort of the segue, the halfway.
I always joked with my kids that's for our sight-impaired drivers. Right? You can tell you're on the edge of the road.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, how far are we away from being comfortable with a self-driving vehicle?
Well, the researchers I used to talk to at the university said that between level 3 and 4 was the Grand Canyon. I mean, they said it was just so hard to deal with. But now, of course, we have these taxis that are operating on level 4 within controlled conditions, and we're learning from them all the time. And we used to read, I've got these clippings at home that I bring out every now and then that would say by 2020 we're going to have
flying cars.
We're going to have millions of self-driving cars on the road. And, of course, we're not there. It's 2025. So it would be foolish for me to try to predict when that would happen, but I think we're still a few years away.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning again, and we'll see you next week, I hope. When we come back on Inside Sources, Holly, we talked about something called Votorama, which I'd never heard of before, but which you apparently know a lot about, and Adam Gardner did. We're going to talk about that a little more after this.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott, KSL's top story this hour. A bicyclist has been life-flighted to the hospital after a car hit them in Kaysville. Police say this happened around 9 this morning along the rail trail near Smith's Marketplace. The bicyclist had multiple injuries, including head trauma. Their condition is unknown, and the investigation is ongoing. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The suspected gunman in yesterday's fatal ambush of firefighters in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, has been identified.
Our sources are saying we have now ID'd the suspect, Wes Rowley, found dead in these woods here. Now, if he killed himself, if he was killed by a police bullet, they don't know. We know the ATF is working to trace the one weapon he had. They are searching the woods today to figure out if there are any more weapons that he had in these woods. They haven't found any yet. They know of the one.
ABC's Alex Stone reporting local fire departments are responding to the deadly ambush in Idaho.
The Kaysville Fire Department says their hearts and prayers are with the victims, families, and anyone else who has been affected. Salt Lake City FBI says they're on the scene to help local law with whatever they might need, and Governor Spencer Cox has reposted Idaho Governor Brad Little, who called the attack heinous and asked for prayers for the first responders and their families. Brianna Willis, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 171 points. The S&P is up 17 points. And coming up, high 90s today. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Regardless of how old your air conditioner is, there are a few things you can do to help it last as many summers as possible. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and like so many things in our life, it's easy to take our air conditioner for granted. If you keep a clean filter, rinse the outdoor unit off every once in a while, and have it serviced once a summer, you can reduce your risk of unexpected breakdowns. But eventually it will break down, and if someone tells you that your only option is to replace it, don't be afraid to get a second opinion. You could save thousands of dollars repairing it instead of replacing it. Any Hour rarely comes across an air conditioner that just can't be repaired. That doesn't mean you won't choose to replace it anyway, but being told you don't have options, that's not cool. So if you want honest answers and straightforward options, give Any Hour Services a call. And remember, every week this summer, Any Hour Services is giving away an air conditioner to one lucky customer as part of our Coolest Summer Sweepstakes. No purchase is necessary. You can see official rules or schedule your service at anyhour.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Well, it's officially summer, and whatever you have planned for the summertime months in the great state of Utah, it can be made better with a stop at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Say, for example, you're heading up into the mountains, going to do a little hiking, a little shopping at the outlet stores, whatever it might be. How about wrapping up a perfect day with that perfect meal that waits for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse at Hotel Park City? And of course, all of the things to do here along the Wasatch Front, especially in the capital city, whether it's a play, maybe a concert, some sporting event, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is waiting for you at 275 South West Temple, where your entree will be perfectly prepared. I love the ribeye steak, and it is always cooked to perfection. The side dishes, the desserts, just the way you're treated, the way the servers take care of you. You're going to love your dining experience this summer at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
Selling or buying a home, you're losing a lot of money if you're not using the Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Sabright Realtor team at RealtyPath. Nothing compares to the Bank Buster loan. Home sellers, you get a quicker sell and a higher net price. How? The buyer of your home gets a rate as low as 4.75% with a payment that saves them hundreds every month. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate is not a seller concession that comes out of your pocket. It's all thanks to our affiliate lender, Sabright Mortgage, and their Bank Buster loan. Hire the Sabright Realtors when you sell or buy a home, and you automatically get a preferred lender and a Bank Buster loan. Buyers, you can start with a rate in the ones. Don't lose tens of thousands of your hard-earned money. Sell and buy your home with a Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit Sabright.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Heather Kelly.
We start with a couple of road closures. Both of them are due to auto versus bikes. And the first one is Redwood Road. It is shut down both northbound and southbound between 400 and 500 south. So you need to find alternate routes to and from I-80 in that area. Also up in Kaysville, we have another closure of 200 north. Again, this is both eastbound and westbound between Flint Street and Mountain Vista Road. Police are asking you to avoid that area. We have slowdown southbound I-15 in Farmington due to road construction, and more delays as you move between Payson and Santaquin due to a multi-vehicle crash that's now been moved over to the right shoulder. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 97 today with partly cloudy skies. A possible thunderstorm moves in on Wednesday and things cool down below 90s on Thursday. Right now 87 and fair. I'm Claire Scott, KSL from the KSL Common Spirit House Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Apparently it's begun, Holly. The Votorama, whatever that is. But the marathon voting session at the Senate is now underway on Trump's big, beautiful bill. I don't know that we've heard any updates on that or where it's going, but Adam Gardner told us earlier that it was going to start this morning. They were going to start doing this Votorama, and it apparently goes all day.
24 hours, he said. He also said it was really fun, which I think Cammie, who is on the line with us, Cammie Mondo, the Deseret News congressional correspondent, she called it fun as well. Thanks, Cammie, for joining us. So Cammie, can you tell us, is it actually fun?
Well, so far we're not really into the meat and potatoes of it just yet, so it's kind of like waiting for the fun before it really begins.
So what is happening right now? And to tell our listeners what we can expect this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So around 9 a.m. Eastern time this morning, they opened up the floor to start voting on this amendment called the Votorama. Like you said, it's basically an opportunity for lawmakers to introduce an unlimited number of amendments. So far, we haven't gotten to any of those amendments just yet because Democrats keep bringing up procedural votes, trying to stop voting altogether. They're now trying to do what's called motion to recommit, which would send the bill back to individual committees. So far, Republicans have shot all of those down, but they're still going through those procedural votes before we can get started on the actual amendments.
So when this Votorama gets underway, the fun part of it, can you describe what that is like?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, different lawmakers are working on these amendments, different changes to what they want to see in the bill. It's been kind of an interesting process because the bill itself is honestly not even fully written. It's not finished. Republicans want some changes. Democrats want votes on amendments themselves. So you're going to see a lot of votes that will either change the bill in dramatic ways, whether it's with Medicaid or green energy tax credits, or you're going to see Democrats bringing up amendments just to kill time. They want this to last as long as possible to kind of just drag it on and make it as painful as they can for Republicans to get their agenda through.
But eventually, Cammie, they're going to get to the floor. They're going to start voting. Does this Votorama, for those of us that don't understand it, allow the bill to be broken up, or is it just addressing amendments to the bill?
It's just addressing amendments. So what the bill, how it's written right now, is set in stone practically. But what these amendments would do is either change some of the text or add new provisions. That's kind of because Republicans still have disagreements over what the House version had for Medicaid. But Senate Republicans finished the text earlier this week, kind of as a placeholder, just so they could start voting. But these amendments really allow them to kind of finish the bill as they're working. So it's kind of like building the plane as you're flying it, essentially.
So we understand that there might be some Republicans also offering amendments, not just Democrats. What type of amendments would they offer?
Right, and so there's one amendment that actually Utah Senator Mike Lee signed on to. This is kind of a deal that he brokered over the weekend with Senator Rick Scott. That would make some big changes to Medicaid expansion that was under Obamacare. That's one of the big changes that Republicans are looking for to help cut spending, to help pay for the tax cuts, which that's the main component of this tax package. That's like one of the amendments. Other ones have to do with slower phase-outs for green energy tax credits. Others are to preserve, Planned Parenthood on the Democratic side from being cut under Medicaid cuts. So you're going to see a lot of those things. The difficult thing is a lot with these amendments, you kind of don't see them until they get brought up to the floor. And so it's kind of a surprise to see what's actually going to be voted on.
It seems like going into this, Cammie, that Medicaid was a huge part of the big, beautiful bill and some of the consternation that a lot of the people were having with their representatives. Can you tell us where you think that's going to be headed between now and when we get to the final vote?
Right, and so with Medicaid, it really is tricky to see which one of these amendments will actually be passed or what Medicaid is going to look like when we're done with this. When we started, the House in their version, they had deep cuts to Medicaid, and some Senate Republicans didn't really want to swallow those. They wanted to preserve some areas. And so right now you're kind of getting into the nitty-gritty details with these amendments, but not all of them are publicized yet. Some of them are still being written. But so we really don't know what the state of Medicaid is going to look like by the time they vote. And even then, when it does make it through the Senate, it could be changed again in the House. We just aren't sure yet.
Thank you again for your insights, Cami. You're becoming a favorite regular of ours, so thank you for joining us again. We've been talking with Cami Mondo, the Deseret News congressional correspondent, about the Votorama, and they haven't started the fun part yet.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, let's talk about some of the other things that are going on with the big, beautiful bill, and as we wait for the Votorama to start.
Yeah. So, Utah Representative Doug Fiafia, he's a state legislator who's been involved in the tech world for a long time, and you know, one of the things we've talked about on the show is that part of this bill says that the federal government would have a moratorium on allowing states to basically govern AI, artificial intelligence. So he said there have been some changes, but they don't go quite far enough.
Senator Marsha Blackburn, who's led the charge to remove the AI moratorium, has been negotiating with Senator Ted Cruz. Here's the good, the bad, and the ugly of the latest text. The good. The moratorium has been reduced from 10 years to 5 years, and they've added carve-outs for child safety laws, protections against exploitation, and rights to your name, image, and voice. The bad, those carve-outs only apply if the laws don't place an undue or disproportionate burden on AI systems. That vague language could lead to legal challenges and possibly block the very laws they're trying to protect. The ugly, if Utah accepts new BEAD broadband funding, we risk not only losing future support, but possibly having previously awarded funds clawed back. And it's not just federal enforcement. Private companies could sue the state too. The Senate votes today during what's called a Votorama, a rapid-fire session where they vote on a dozen of amendments back-to-back. The AI moratorium is one of them. So while there's been some movement, the risks to the state of Utah, legal clarity, and funding are still very real.
And it seems, Holly, that the representatives from Utah are really, whether they want to say it outright or not, saying, we got this. We've already got this under control. We've already passed legislation. Please don't put a moratorium on us before we can start doing things that we're already well on top of.
Yeah, and I think Utah has been out in front, and I know other states are trying to follow what Utah has been doing. But Representative Fiafia has even gone back to Washington, D.C. to say, hey, look, we do have this. These are the types of laws we've already passed. He was out there to testify last week that this bill is going to hurt Utah and what we've already been doing here. So if you remember Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, she was one of the ones in the House after the bill passed by just a single vote who later said, well, I didn't realize this AI provision was in here. And if I'd known that, I wouldn't have supported it. So there's that. However, it hasn't been stripped out yet. We only have a little bit of change, not a lot.
And what can you tell our listeners, Holly, about two-term Republican Senator Thom Tillis, who's sort of taken on this whole thing and basically said, he's from North Carolina, I believe, said, okay, I'm not running again, so here's what I'm going to do. And Trump's taken some issues with what he's doing. He's a Republican senator, too.
He is, and he just said, look, this is violating a campaign promise where President Trump said he would not touch Medicaid, but not only does the Senate version touch Medicaid, but it increases the cuts to Medicaid by more than $300 million, making the total really close to $1 trillion of cuts to Medicaid.
Yeah, and Senator Tillis did say he would withhold his vote on the One Big Beautiful Bill.
He's a no.
Right, yeah. Here's what he said.
Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise.
You wonder if he's going to get much traction with that with other Republicans. And when we come back after the break, a civil lawsuit against BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff has been officially dismissed. We broke that earlier in the show today. We'll give you some updates on where that stands after the break.
This summer, don't just watch a movie. Experience it like never before at Fat Cats. At Fat Cats, you're not just going to the movies. You're sinking into plush recliners, watching on crystal clear screens, and feeling every moment with immersive surround sound. And here's the big one. We're celebrating the release of the live-action How to Train Your Dragon with a special morning movie event on Saturday, June 14th, with activities, themed treats, and more. Tickets are on sale now. Bring the whole family and enjoy the movie in style. We even have exclusive souvenir popcorn buckets, collectible soda cups, and even an adorable toothless shoulder plush. It's the ultimate way to kick off your dragon-filled adventure. Reserve your seats now at fatcatsfun.com and be part of the magic. Find a Fat Cats movie theater and showtimes near you online at fatcatsfun.com. That's fatcatsfun.com.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Summer's here and only getting hotter. Better save now on a new day and night heat pump and air conditioning system.
Keep cool with a new day and night heat pump and air conditioning system surpassing the new federal standards. It's easy, eco-friendly, and affordable. For example, select a low-interest financing plan on approved systems and combine that with tax credits of up to $2,000. Go to dayandnightcomfort.com for a day and night elite dealer near you. The difference is day and night.
It's no baloney. Proper window installation makes a huge difference. Hi, this is Jason.
And Kathy of Window World. Hey, anybody can bust out your old windows and slap in the new ones and leave you with a mess.
Our in-house installers are thoroughly trained to expertly install, seal, and trim your new window.
And they clean up afterwards.
Our windows have a transferable lifetime warranty.
And we warranty the installation, too.
Call Window World at 281-8111.
Window World. And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
We started the show at the top of the show today, Holly, with this Jake Retzloff lawsuit. And I want to talk about the timeline of this whole thing because people complain about lawsuits taking a long time to resolve, sometimes years in the making. This is a lawsuit that was filed May 21st, 2025. What's that? 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was a lawsuit filed by a young woman who claimed that she had been, as a part of a date, she had met Jake Retzloff online, talked to him, arranged to get together, claims that the date went south and that he did some things that were inappropriate physically and sexually. He files an answer on June 27th saying
3 days ago.
Right, yeah, literally on Friday, saying, okay, we got together, but it wasn't at all as she described, and here's exactly what I think happened. And as I was reading that, and I was talking to my wife, she said, the plaintiff's attorney's got to be pretty worried about this. This woman's got to be a little bit nervous about where this case is going. And sure enough, we get here this morning, and as the show's starting, there's a motion filed by both parties called a joint motion for dismissal. Like, literally,
They both said
the
we're
ink
done.
hadn't exactly the ink hadn't even dried on the answer, and the parties get together for a dismissal. The dismissal motion doesn't have a lot of information except that it's with prejudice, so it's over. Prejudice means that it's over, and on the merits, and it says both parties will bear their own costs and attorney's fees. So Jake Retzlaff in his answer said, hey, not only is your lawsuit bad, but you're going to pay our attorney's fees and our costs. Of course, her lawsuit is for, who knows, hundreds of thousands of dollars. She's asked that it be more than $300,000 to get to you to a certain level with the court. So, I mean, both sides are asking for the world. The case is dismissed on its merits, and that motion for dismissal was filed this morning at 6:30. Of course, there are no judges signing things
Right.
at 6:30, but at 9:57. The judge signed it, and it was probably more of a formality. So when you prepare, Holly, a motion and a stipulation and an order for a dismissal or for anything, in other words, we're asking for this. The other side doesn't disagree. We're stipulating, and here's the order. Then you also submit a document called a notice to submit. In other words, hey, judge, read this over.
Yeah.
Otherwise, judges don't look at motions unless they're ripe. It's time to consider it.
So much lawyer speak.
Right, yes. So you file the motion. You say, hey, we need this addressed right away. The judge looked at the motion, saw that it was stipulated, and dismissed the case, hour and a half ago.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. I'm seeing some other attorneys weighing in and saying, well, because they dismissed it with prejudice, it almost always means there was an out-of-court settlement. Do you think that's the case in
No
this
way.
case?
No way. I mean,
So why are they speculating that, do you think?
I'll say no way for a number of reasons. And I could be wrong. Okay, I've only done this.
We probably won't know, right?
No, we won't know. But we do know, if you read between the lines in Retzlaff's answer, there were some pre-filing negotiations. They made it sound like she had already offered to give him money. She'd already offered to settle and have him give her some money before they even filed the lawsuit.
Oh.
And he didn't, apparently. Now, that's not 100% clear, but if you read between the lines, it looks like there were some negotiations that went on
And
before
he
she
said,
even
"I'll see
filed
you in
it.
court."
Right, exactly. So the value to a lawsuit like this, Holly, is the notoriety. In other words, if we file this lawsuit, it's going to hurt you. And it has. We're already talking about honor code violations,
Right.
transfer, that type
Right.
of thing. So the value to the lawsuit is before you file it. It's worth more before you file it than the day you file it. Because so that tells me that she was asking for something and they didn't give that to her. They said, no, go ahead and file your lawsuit. She did. I just see the answer as being so compelling. And let me just tell you a couple things about it. And it to help answer that question. So those lawyers may be more experienced than I am, but I don't agree that there was a penny transferred here.
Okay.
Retzlaff said a couple things in his answer that I think are really compelling. One, he said, okay, everything that happened was consensual, and there were people there, including her friend. She went to his place with a friend of hers, and he had some roommates there.
Wow.
So what he's saying is, I had a lot of witnesses. I had people that are willing to come forward and say, whatever happened was consensual. She even tells her friend, according to him, it's time for you to leave. I'm staying.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'm spending the night. There must have been some corroboration of that.
Oh, gosh.
But here's a really compelling thing, if it's true. Retzlaff's attorneys went to the Provo Police Department because she had alleged in her complaint that she went to the police department and filed a complaint, and they said, these cases never go anywhere. Don't waste your time, which I don't believe. I don't believe the police department would ever say that. But Retzlaff's attorneys, they must have done a grandma request or something and requested the information that she filed with the police. And what she told the police was she didn't identify her assailant, but did say that he was a childhood friend of hers, somebody that she had known earlier. Retzloff's never met her before. He's never had anything to do with her before. So
yeah, interesting.
So what he's saying is somebody else did this. We're not saying she wasn't assaulted, but it wasn't Retzloff. And there would be, I mean, I was head of sex crimes for the DA's office and worked with police all the time, and I've done it from the other side too. But that's not the kind of thing, and I know you're really, I know that you don't like the concept of victim shaming, and I don't mean to do that, but that's not the kind of thing a victim would misrepresent.
Right.
He also talked about something that I thought was maybe slightly less compelling, and that is that whatever happened between the two of them was in November of 23, when he's a good quarterback.
But not famous.
Not famous. BYU's a good team, but not a great team.
Yeah.
She files it after both of those change a lot. And suddenly he's got a target on his back that's shaped like a dollar sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Suddenly he's an attractive target to her. And so they're claiming she made a report, but she didn't make a report that would have given anyone the impression that it was this guy. And there would be no reason for her to misrepresent that. And she didn't file the lawsuit until this guy suddenly looks like he's got NFL money coming.
Or even NIL money, right? So that's one of the issues now with college sports is you can get these really big payouts. So I think just as we wrap up, we can revisit the honor code at BYU. So BYU is a private university, and it's owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they have an honor code, and part of that honor code is that you will not have sexual relations with anybody that you're not married to. So Jake doesn't dispute that there was a sexual encounter. He said it was consensual, right? So he's admitting that he has violated the honor code. So
and he didn't have to do that.
He did not have to do that, but he did. And there would have been additional, I think, ongoing investigation from BYU's side. And what I've seen is that they were at least thinking about a 7-game suspension, which would have been more than half the season for him.
Right, and it would have really hurt the team. It would have really hurt him. And BYU has no choice once he outs himself in his answer. He does admit that.
Yeah.
That they've got to do something, that there is this honor code violation. And so where because you have to be fair across the board.
Right. I don't think BYU can have a double standard and say, as long as you're famous, you don't have to follow the honor code, right? But everybody else does. I don't think that's the case. And I think BYU has been really clear. I mean, it's really clear when you sign up to become a student at BYU, not only do you have to sign the honor code, but you have to have some kind of ecclesiastical endorsement. And if you're not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you have to have some other sort of ecclesiastical leader or faith leader, and Retzloff is Jewish, so he would have had to have at least somebody say, look, he's a person of good character, and he agreed that he would follow this honor code, and then he did not.
Yeah, and when I read him admitting the sexual encounter, I thought, boy, he's hurting himself on the honor code thing. But I think his attorneys and him went all in.
Yeah.
They were like, no, we're not holding back anything. We want to get this case dismissed now, and they did, and they were successful in that. That's another reason I don't think there was some backdoor settlement of any type, because I think his answer is so aggressive that he's saying not only
and look, let's be clear. There are 260 other football programs he can go to, and he will be a star no matter where he goes
if he chooses to. I mean, hopefully we'll have some more discussion about that, and he might. I mean, he's going to be a great asset to the university if he chooses to stay. Investors are snapping up real estate in Utah, and some people are concerned that it makes Utah's housing crisis even worse. Where things stand today and the efforts made by lawmakers to address it, next.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott, KSL's top story this hour. A civil lawsuit filed against BYU quarterback Jake Retzloff has been officially dismissed.
The attorneys for both Retzloff and his unnamed accuser, they filed joint paperwork this morning, and at 9:57 a.m., the judge signed it. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas says that means the case is over.
It says that the parties agreed to dismiss this case with prejudice, which means it can never be brought again, and upon the merits of plaintiff's complaint. In other words, they're saying she didn't have any merit.
I contacted the attorney's office representing Retzloff. They said they would issue a public statement sometime later this week. KSL Sports is reporting Jake Retzloff told his teammates and coaches that he is going to transfer. Randall Jepson, KSL News Radio.
We've also reached out to BYU and their athletics department. So far, we have not heard a response. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Congress is still working to get the president's budget bill passed before the weekend. At issue are tax breaks and the proposed cuts to social programs, including Medicaid. Senate Majority Leader John Thune was ready to get the voting process moving along today.
This is good for America. This is good for the American people. It's good for working families. And it's been a long debate. I know people are weary. But at the end of the day, we want to get this done.
This bill will need to go back to the House to approve the changes the Senate made to the original House version. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 164 points. The S&P is up 13 points. And coming up, partly cloudy before the storm. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Market volatility isn't slowing down. If you're nearing retirement, now is not the time to wait and see. Every day of uncertainty can put your future at risk. It's time to diversify. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I want you to know you can create certainty, locking in guaranteed income for life. This means predictable, stable cash flow, even in turbulent times. You've worked too hard to leave your retirement to chance. Right now, there are options to receive up to 30% upfront or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't wait. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any examples provided are hypothetical. Annuities are issued with prospectus and sales brochures and should be reviewed carefully before funding as features and benefits vary. DBA in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So, I was taking my side hustle full-time.
Bold move, my friend.
And I needed to find everything in one stop.
Like finding Bigfoot riding a unicorn.
Yes, so I hit the Staples Easy button. Staples had everything for a new office and print services for signs and brochures. Plus, Cindy, the Staples associate, helped me find the best tech for me.
Wait, no drama?
No, Staples made it easy.
For the products, services, and experts your business needs. Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Progressive's Teen Driver Discount could lower the cost of insurance for your teenager and save you some money. And then you can still spend money on them. Because just when you think you have a grasp on spending, new sneakers. And then it's money for a school field trip. And of course, spending money. Oh yeah, and a new phone to replace the one they dropped in the toilet. Oh, don't remind me. So just get Progressive's Teen Driver Discount. And then you can continue to spend money on them. Endlessly. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states and subject to terms and conditions.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America's Double Rewards credit card promotion. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a stalled vehicle in Weber County. This is going to be, it's also a crash. It's now a crash. It's been updated in West Haven, 4700 West 40 is south. If you're traveling the Valley Freeways, you will see some busy traffic through the work zone. Southbound I-15 going from Kaysville to Farmington. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 97 with partly cloudy skies today. We could get up to 99 tomorrow before a possible thunderstorm moves in, continuing through Thursday, bringing temperatures back down. Right now it is 88 and fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit House Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Investors are snapping up real estate in Utah, and some people are concerned that it makes Utah's housing crisis even worse. Utah is number 4, Holly, for states with the highest percentage of homes purchased by investors in 2024 at 18%, according to Realtor.com. More than 60% of investor sales are cash sales, compared to only about a third of all sales. And it pits investors against individual home buyers, especially first-time home buyers who are trying to buy houses and can't afford them, and now they're being snapped up by investors.
Right, and I think one of the things that happens, right, especially as we're looking at these first-time home buyers. When you have an investment group that comes in and they buy a whole bunch of homes in a neighborhood, or they're buying in a new development, a lot of times they're turning those homes into, at least in some areas of the state, into short-term rentals. They're pricing first-time home buyers out of the market, right? And Utah is really trying to get these first-time home buyers into houses. I mean, it's certainly a thing that that Governor Cox has been talking about, the legislature's been working on. And during the last legislative session, there was a bill that would have made it easier for first-time home buyers and made it harder for these investors, right? But it did not pass. But joining us on the line today is the sponsor of that legislation, and that's Representative Galen Binion, who represents the Cottonwood Heights area. Thanks for joining us, Representative Binion.
Thank you.
I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your legislation that you proposed earlier this year, and what it would have done to help first-time home buyers.
So I have been very thoughtful about this topic for a number of years, and this bill was really a gentle messaging bill more than anything, because it didn't have a lot of teeth behind it. It didn't have enforcement, really. It was bringing to that contract and purchase of a single-family home just in Salt Lake County, that it would give 30 days that investors would wait to purchase those homes and give priority to people that would be buying it to live in it. They would just sign an affidavit that they plan to live in the home for a year. Mm-hmm. And because I'm just so concerned, Salt Lake County lost 10,000 homes that were owned and occupied by the people that lived in them, that they went to becoming rental homes. We see build for rent throughout our state. So that's homes being built that aren't even being built to be sold. They're being built because the developers see that this is a way to make money.
So talk to us about the builders or the sellers. I mean, doesn't it, and I guess I'm sort of thinking about the whole free market, doesn't it make sense that a person who builds or sells their home should be able to sell to the highest bidder?
Right. So again, we were very thoughtful and had a lot of discussion with the drafting attorneys looking at what would be constitutional, and we found it would not be constitutional in our state to exclude certain types of investors. So this was for all investors, and then it left it to the seller to determine if they had some exigent circumstance. Maybe they had a medical need and needed to sell quickly. Maybe they needed to sell quickly because they're moving out of the county. So that was just left up to the seller to say, I can't use this process. I'm not going through the affidavit process. I need to sell quickly. So again, it didn't have a lot of realtors and property managers that I knew supported the bill because they saw that this is needed. What else are we going to do to get between investors and people that are looking to buy their first home? We had a woman testify in the committee that they were moving back to Utah and had saved up enough for their first home, and they'd found one that was in the $400 range, but it was purchased by an investor and then was back on the market within a month or two for $100,000 more,
Wow.
moving it out of their price range. And that person could have bought the home and made any improvements or maintenance that the home needed, and then kept that equity for themselves.
Mm-hmm. So what are you anticipating? Like I have seen this as a concern in southern Utah, right, where people are saying we've got a bunch of investors snapping up these homes and we're doing these short-term rentals, and that can bring its own issues, and then you weigh it against what Greg said about the free market. What do you anticipate, maybe either during the interim discussing this issue or during the next legislative session? Do you have any ideas on how that might be working?
I think it's difficult because the Property Rights Coalition, their statement is that they don't want anything to stand between a buyer and a seller. But we can see that is not serving us well. I'm also part of the governor's statewide strategic housing plan technical committee and been on several working groups.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that brought to the front, and this is because we have not had a statewide housing plan. So the governor is working on helping our state create a housing plan.
Mm-hmm.
And what that found is that even like at the point of the mountain, there were like 6,000 homes that would be rented homes or, residences that would be rentals, and only like 700 that were for sale.
Wow.
And that's on state property. So we definitely need a state plan to address this. And we can see with that example how if we just let the market rule for what is going to make the most profit for the builder and developer, it's going to move more and more to this build for rent. And that is not the future that we need. So we need to find some mechanisms, whether that's taxes or whatever it is. We're one of only 17 states that gives the homeowner exemption to our landlords. In most of the country, landlords they don't get the 45% off of the property tax for their rentals. Do we need to do something drastic like that in Utah, or what do we need to do so it's not such a benefit to be a landlord? I mean, we need landlords. I've been a tenant because of my husband's Air Force service for many years. We need good landlords, but what can we do to make it not so profitable that it's pushing out people that need to live and purchase homes because of the benefit it brings to be a homeowner?
Yeah, and what can you do for the benefit of the first-time home buyer to make it to make them in a little bit better position? Besides, okay, you can say, okay, if you want to buy this home, you have to sign an affidavit that you're going to live there. Otherwise, you have to wait 30 days. Are there other ways to give, I don't know, maybe incentive or tax break or a little bit of a interest buy down for first-time home buyers that the legislature can do?
So that is one of the things that I've been most excited about in this statewide strategic housing plan, is that the Utah Housing Association currently provides 205K loans for municipalities that want to take a home and renovate it so that it's more habitable. They're working on a program, hopefully, that they'll have by the coming year that will allow this to be used by individuals and families that are looking to purchase their first home. So they are being as creative as they can in that way. But I wonder if we do need to look at that tax benefit that we're giving to landlords. Is that making since the majority of the country does not offer that tax benefit, do we need to look at that?
Yeah. Thank you for filling us in on where that was, and we'll keep an eye on this, your housing task force. And we've been talking with Representative Galen Bennion. Thank you again for joining us today, Representative. So one of the things, too, I think when we talk about this housing crisis and investors, if you recall, we had an opportunity to talk with Ogden City, who...
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah, right. They have this program where they do incentivize for first-time home buyers. And I think that I asked, remember, if that program had gone statewide, and to their knowledge, it doesn't really go statewide, maybe that's something for the legislature to look at as well, because they have figured out a way to say, look, it's not just first-time home buyers, but this will help you get into a house, and it will help you with the down payment, and that maybe would get to some of those first-time home buyers who get priced out by cash buyers.
Yeah, and that was a $10,000 one-time no-interest loan that didn't have to be repaid until you sold the house, which seemed like a great idea. Limited to Ogden and limited to something like they only had like $500,000. So
yeah, it's like 50
homes. Yeah, still great idea. Straight ahead, we had a special election in Utah this weekend. Holly's going to loop us in on what happened. Stay with us.
Over 3/4 of Americans will experience foot pain, and most will just live with that pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to change that. Here's Amanda from Provo.
I am an active woman, ex-Division I basketball player at BYU. By trade, I'm a PE teacher. Over the last 2 years is when my feet really started hurting.
And that's when Amanda's life changed with a visit to Foot Solutions in Orem.
My experience at Foot Solutions was so unique to any other experience I've had. Over an hour they spent with me, really going over my specific pain points.
After discovering so many solutions and custom in-house made orthotics, what does Amanda want you to know?
Invest in your health. Don't be cheap to your feet. Living a pain-free, active life again has been worth every cent.
Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
I'm Amanda from Provo. I'm 47 years old, and Foot Solutions has given me back a pain-free, active lifestyle.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Staples presents That Was Easy.
So, I was taking my side hustle full-time.
Bold move, my friend.
And I needed to find everything in one stop.
Like finding Bigfoot riding a unicorn.
Yes, so I hit the Staples Easy button. Staples had everything for a new office and print services for signs and brochures. Plus, Cindy, the Staples associate, helped me find the best tech for me.
Wait, no drama?
No, Staples made it easy.
For the products, services, and experts your business needs, Staples.
That was easy.
In-store, online, and on the app.
Lowe's knows July 4th savings are worth celebrating. Right now, get up to 40% off select major appliances and get an additional 10% off 2 or more select major appliances. Plus, get 3 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. These deals are coming in hot. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/9. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Tree Utah is dedicated to improving quality of life in Utah, now and for future generations, through tree planting, care, and education. By working with communities, they support biodiversity, promote clean air, and advance sustainable forestry. Executive Director Amy May joins us with more.
At Tree Utah, we believe that planting trees is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to create a healthier, more beautiful Utah. Since 1989, we've planted over 400,000 trees with the help of more than 185,000 volunteers across the state. We collaborate with schools, businesses, and community groups to plant trees in public spaces, including city parks, school playgrounds, and restoration sites. Our ecological restoration efforts focus on planting native trees along the Jordan River corridor and in the Wasatch Mountain canyons to support local ecosystems, wildlife habitats, and climate resilience. Through educational programs, we engage students from kindergarten to college, providing hands-on learning experiences about the importance of trees, conservation, and environmental stewardship. Whether you're planting your first tree or your 100th, join us in making Utah a greener, healthier place to live, work, and play. Learn more about corporate partnerships and volunteer opportunities at treeutah.org.
Tree Utah's impact reaches far beyond planting trees. Their work is a vital reminder that thoughtful action today can shape a more sustainable and beautiful Utah for generations to come. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Inside Sources.
I'm so lucky to have Holly Richardson as my co-host. When we have subjects like this, apparently, Holly, we had a special election for House District 51 on Saturday, which was being vacated by Jefferson Moss, who took a job with the governor's office. He was the House Majority Leader.
That's right.
Now he's not in the House anymore, and so they had to fill the slot.
That's right.
They had a special election, but
That's right.
How did that go?
So in Utah, a special election means the delegates of that party, and in this case, Republicans, get together and they hold an election just with the delegates to do this, what they call midterm vacancy replacement. So the person who won goes through the next election cycle, which will be 2026. So they'll have to start running again in January when they file. And what happens in Utah, interestingly, we're a part-time legislature. It does not pay very well, right? So people have outside jobs and other things that they do. So Jefferson Moss left to go work with the governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and that created this vacancy. So what happened on Saturday is they had 5 candidates come to talk to the delegates of this district, which was House District 51. And it took 3 rounds of voting. What happens with, at least in Utah County, the way they do it is they'll have rounds of voting until you start to have the lowest numbers drop off the ballot. So in the first round of voting, you actually had somebody else who came out on top with the largest percentage of votes, but you had 2 people who fell out the first round. One only got 1 vote and one got 4 votes of these delegates. The next go around, most of the votes actually transferred to the person who came in second place, and then she's the one who ultimately won, and her name is Leah Hansen, and she will be replacing Jefferson Moss for House District 51. So for this next legislative session, and then if she runs again and wins again, then she'll be in again.
So these are the delegates from that particular district?
Yep.
Like the delegates that show up at the state convention.
That's right. And so you have you'll have state delegates, but these are county delegates for this specific race that they did not cross county lines, but they will vote on that person. And the interesting thing about the Utah legislature, another interesting thing, is somewhere around a third of the legislators who are there got in because of a special election.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's how I got in the legislature too.
Oh, that's
was
right.
a special
That's
election.
right. So,
Yep.
so tell me this: you say candidates. Did they have a? I know Jefferson Moss's appointment was some time ago. It was at least long enough that the legislature's already picked his successor. But
in leadership, yeah.
Yes, right. In leadership, right. But there was some notification so people could say, I want to put my name in the hat.
Yeah, that's right. And so the Utah County Republican Party was the one who noticed this election. They had a candidate filing timeline. You had candidates file. I think you had maybe 6 candidates file, but only 5 who were there for the actual election on Saturday. And then they had a period of time where they needed to campaign. And so they're campaigning just towards those delegates. So there's no ads running on TV or the radio or anything like that because it's just these delegates, somewhere around 100-ish delegates who would have been there at the special election on Saturday.
And they can do what normal candidates do with respect to delegates, like call them.
Call, visit, send flyers, have other people talk to them. I mean, one of the things I saw that Leah Hansen did was she did some videos that I kept seeing pop up on social media. She was sharing like the inside view of this is what I'm doing on my campaign. But there are multiple people who ran, and I know several of the candidates and good candidates. But in the end, it was Leah Hansen who came out on top.
Do we know much about her?
Well,
I mean, I put you on the spot.
You
there
are
going to
put me on the spot a little bit. We are social media friends. I will say that Leah is Pacific Islander, and so she will join a growing contingent in the Utah legislature. I know she's friends with Representative Fiafia, that we had at least some voice from him earlier in this show today. So she will go up to the Hill and she will represent her area.
And she's good to go until the 2026.
Yeah,
when when that position would normally come up for
that's right.
re-election
So she
anyway.
fills the seat for the rest of the time, right? And so she can choose not to run again if she decides she doesn't want to. She doesn't have to. That's happened before,
right?
But she is now filling this spot until the 2026 election, and then we'll know who the next person will be. And it might be her, but it might be somebody else.
Last question: Is that how you got on the legislature?
Yeah,
to
a special election
like that. Okay.
I had 100 delegates. Yep.
So he was similar. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Enough of that and enough politics. We've had quite the morning. But tell us what your fun fact of the day is.
Well, my fun fact actually relates to politics.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's actually Social Media Day. So we talked about a Snapchat lawsuit with the Utah Attorney General filing a lawsuit against Snapchat earlier today. So I guess that counts. But I wanted to ask you, do you remember when you first got on social media? You're not even on that much right now, but do you remember when you first got on?
I got on, and I remember, because I was running for Attorney General, and my campaign manager said, you got to get on.
You have to get on.
You got to get on. And I did. And so I created a Facebook page in, I know exactly, 2004, which was the year I ran for Attorney General. I'd never had any social media before then, and I had a Facebook page. I don't even know where that page is now.
That's early days, yeah,
really?
of Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
early days of Facebook. So I got on Facebook in 2008. I also got on Twitter that year. And that was not the year they were created, but it started to pick up. And same reason, I was starting to be more active in politics, doing campaigning. I had been involved in politics, but it was like, I don't know, what is this thing, right? But now, one of the things that's interesting, I never got on MySpace, which was one of the early ones, and it got really popular for a while. And I never got on Friendster, which was another early social media platform. And I think with our conversation that we had about Snapchat earlier, I've heard from my kids that Snapchat's kind of going away. It's just not that cool anymore.
Yeah, I'd heard the same thing about Facebook some time ago when they were saying, oh, everybody's going to TikTok or Instagram or that type of thing. I mean, it ebbs and flows like restaurants and anything else in Utah.
So Facebook has changed. And so let's see, what's 2008? That's 17 years ago. I was not a grandmother when I got on, and now I am. And one of the things that I hear is Facebook is now for grandmas, where they can share pictures of their grandkids, right? And they can relate. Twitter, or X, now owned by Elon Musk, is a place actually where a lot of journalists hang out, and so you can see a lot of news. I see a lot of breaking news on X before it ends up on a podcast or even any kind of a news site. I'll see it on X first.
So I need to, maybe you can help me with this. I need to expand. I mean, now that we're doing this, I think it's important that I do that. It didn't really enhance my law career. I didn't see any benefit to it. But KSL is saying, hey, you need to get on these other platforms. And I don't know how, but I'm sure there are
You'll
people
have
here
help.
that can show me how to do that.
Well, over the years,
I don't know what the big one is right now.
It depends on your audience, really, but I would say Instagram is really big and TikTok is really big, especially with the younger generations. I mean, quite a bit younger, 18 to 30. So one of the things that I used to do, you probably know, I used to write a blog called Holly on the Hill, and that was back in the day of blogging. We still have things we call blogs, but they're not really the same as they used to be. But I felt then that I had to have a social media presence. And so I started Holly on the Hill Twitter account and Holly on the Hill on Facebook. And LinkedIn took a little while for me to get used to, but that's more a professional site where people, they try to keep politics off of it. They're not always successful, but it's a good place also. It's different. But Instagram and video is really, I think, content where social media has gone. So on Social Media Day, you can expect, in fact, if you go and look for it, Social Media Day will have multiple posting across multiple channels.
Are you friends with your children on any of these platforms?
Yeah, yeah. I am friends with my kids. Here's a funny story. My husband's not a lot on social media, so I asked to connect with him on Facebook as his spouse. That request is still pending, and I bet it's been a decade.
I was going to say, my kids are sort of like, Dad, I don't know that you really want us to see what we're doing here. But
No,
they've
for
been,
sure.
I send this friend request out, like, hey, you should get to know this girl. I'm like, yeah, she's my daughter. And I still say, Dad, are you spying on me? No, I want to be your friend.
My kids really use Instagram a lot, and that's where they're posting pics of my grandkids. And so I love to see what they post because I can just, like, almost every day they're posting something that's really a good way to keep up for me.
Interesting. And then at the same time, the state of Utah is filing a lawsuit against Snapchat. So.
Well, I asked one of my kids a few years ago, can you teach me how to use Snapchat? And they said, no, you're too old.
There you go. There you go. Well, we're not too old to continue this show, and we will be back again tomorrow. But in the meantime, we will be joined by Maria Chaleos at midday, up next at 12 o'clock. Stay with us on KSL News Radio.
BYU quarterback Jake Retzloff has been officially dismissed. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
The attorneys for both Retzloff and his unnamed